Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 17th, 2019 zoning board, Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Just for your information, 133 Gerard Drive LLC, that public hearing has been postponed, so that will not be heard this evening if anyone is here for that. So we will move on to our first public hearing scheduled for 6:30. The applicant is Jeanette Silva. The lot size and location, 5,697 square feet at 48 East Lake Drive, Montauk, tax map number 300-20-3-6. Description is to allow a 160 square foot shed to remain within side yard and pyramid setbacks on a parcel of land within NRSP jurisdiction. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-5-51 and two variances. One variance pursuant to 255-11-10 to allow the shed to remain 3 feet from the rear yard lot line where 10 feet is required, and one 3.85 feet variance from pyramid regulations 255-11-72D. This is in an A residence zone. The flood zone here is X, and the secret class is type 2. And this is in Board Member Berger's Montauk District. Harry, if you would, start us off, please.
Wait, it should be, where's that one?
Affidavit service and posting?
Oh, yes. You got that detail.
Yep. Yeah, that's okay. You just need these. I reviewed the affidavit service and posting. Appears that notice was proper.
Thank you. Thanks.
48 East Lake Drive.
48.
In the planning folder. See it? This official notice is properly posted. It was kind of precarious and had fallen down. I put it back up, retaped it as best as could. I don't know if it held up since I made the field visit, though. Next. This is the house to immediate west of the applicant's home, and that's the applicant's driveway right in front of where my car is parked. This is Paradise Lane. The address is East Lake Drive, but actually these houses have their entrances from the Paradise Lane private road side. Next. This is the front from the street, from across the street of the applicant's house. It's a shot looking east of Paradise Lane, just to show you the feel for the neighborhood and the vegetation. Next. This is a home directly across the street on the south side of Paradise Lane, I think. Yeah. And now this is the front of the applicant's house. I'm going to walk toward the back. This is the west, from the west side. The driveway's on the west side. And you can see the shed that's mentioned for the variance tonight in the back. And I'm going to walk toward that shed and take a number of other shots from different vantage points. I'm standing now on the west side of the property and looking toward the next neighbor, the affected neighbor on the east side. I'm assuming that's the neighbor that asked the applicant to put the shed where they did, as opposed to putting it where it was permitted.
Terry, maybe you could move the microphone just a little closer to you so that...
Okay.
We can hear it.
All right, so this is the neighbor's house, I'm assuming from, okay, next. I'm shooting now back toward the street, toward Paradise Lane, and I'm going to go around the back of the shed. And then I'm shooting from the back. I'm actually off the applicant's property now. The shed was pretty close to the property line. And
You're back in that
Next.
cleared area there?
I'm in the cleared area, right, right. And again, that was another shot. Okay. Now I'm near the
The shot
neighbors.
with the boats, is
Go
that,
back.
they're still in the property?
No, that's not on their property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's over the property line.
Yeah, it wasn't clear.
Yeah. And now, where am I? Okay. Oh, that was a shot, I'm sorry, go back. That was just another shot toward the East Lake Drive area, so toward the west. Next. And this is a shot, again, from the backyard. You can see there's plenty of lawn space. And again, the shot of the neighbor that I believe wanted the shed
That
for the,
neighbor's to the
for the
east.
view to the east.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just another shot of the house, and I believe that may be it. Is that it? Oh, actually, no, I took two more. This is the entrance to Paradise Lane. We see all the mailboxes lined up. So that's a shot from on East Lake Drive on the east side, on the west side of East Lake Drive, looking east. And then I do have one more that has the opposite viewpoint of shooting on East Lake Drive toward Lake Montauk, toward the west. This is the next shot. That's that. You can see a lot of heavy vegetation throughout this entire area. And that should be it.
Okay, any questions, board members, on Terry's field report? Take it another.
Well, in the application, it talked about interfering with the neighbor's view.
Right.
Could you figure out what view that was?
No, I couldn't. But maybe the applicant can
okay.
address that when they
you
come up.
speak, yeah.
When you
Yeah.
speak. Wh-
No,
when-
hold on,
When you
when you,
come up to the podium.
I think we are
So-
you, if you.
We're ready, yeah.
Are you the applicant's agent?
It's
You
okay.
can come on, you can come up now.
I agree.
Yeah, but what we're saying is you have to speak, speak from the podium, I have to swear you in, that sort of thing. Yes.
Are they actually on? Hard to hear you.
How about, is that okay, Denise? You good?
I was just,
Yeah.
it's very low.
Okay, good evening. If you could give us your name and address, please.
My name is Dennis Leibel, Leyble, B as in boy, L-E.
LUI,
Sorry, Leyb as in boy, L-E.
thank you.
Dennis Leibel.
And your address.
And my street address is 2 Edward Avenue, Babylon, New York.
Great. And are you the agent for the applicant?
Yes, I'm here on behalf of my mother-in-law,
Okay.
Jeanette Silva.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you. Good. So are you an attorney? Otherwise, I have to swear you in.
I am not an attorney.
Okay, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can begin. Thank you.
Yes, my mother-in-law had a prior shed on the property. I guess in the process of her installing the portico and applying for the deck on top of the portico, the inspector noticed that the prior shed was not on her property, so she had that shed removed, had this new shed brought in, and had the shed placed there at the request of her neighbor to the east of her. There's a natural fence line, the shrubs on both sides of the property, that's cut open where you can see the lake in between. So her neighbor on the east side wanted the shed placed in a location that didn't block that view, and as a result, the shed was placed 3 feet at a proximity of 3 feet away from the property line, which led to this variance request and the pyramid. Rule
Right,
and all that.
and you had a building permit that had it, there's a survey that shows it 10 feet and 10 feet, that she had a permit to locate this properly, it looks like. Correct? Is that correct?
That may be correct. I honestly do
Oh,
not.
I can ask, Elena
believe
can
so.
clarify that, but it's, when she comes up from the planning department, but, so it used to be, a shed used to be off the property, and
Correct.
this is a different shed?
It was a different shed that is no longer there anymore.
Right. Now, all of the other stuff off the property, is that your mother-in-law's as well?
I believe they're in the process of removing all of that.
Okay. Go ahead, Ron.
Is this, at the time this shed was there, was that pursuant to the building permit that was given, I think in 2000, we're gonna look it up.
Yeah, let's see.
There was a building permit,
There was a permit posted.
2016.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2016?
This shed right here?
Yeah.
No, this shed is new within the past year or two. So the building permit was first for the deck, the portico. Actually, not the portico. I believe the portico already had previously approved permit, and then it was the deck on top of the portico. So that was the building permit. And then when the inspector was there, I guess looking for that, they noticed the shed that was not on their property.
well, I think, again, we have it here, we have a building permit in the file, actually. You might not know it, but anyway, there is a building permit, November 10th, 2017, for the shed in a conforming location.
Okay,
So my,
I was not aware of that.
yeah, so my point is, your mother-in-law knew about permits, knew about setbacks. She or somebody had gotten a building permit that showed the shed in a proposed location. It even calls out 10 feet, 10 feet. So
Mhm.
just for the record, I want to say that. Okay? Go ahead, you can continue if you have any.
That's really it. I mean, it was placed at that location based on the request of her neighbor,
Right.
so it didn't block the lake view. I don't know that you can
Um,
necessarily
What,
see.
see the lake
what
view.
would prevent her from moving it to a conforming location?
There's nothing to prevent her other than the fact that she could move it. It's just going to block the opening in the cutout of the shrubs.
Okay,
Can,
Beth, can you go back to that photo that shows what they're saying is a cutout?
can you show where the view would be locked based on the photos?
The one from the east shooting west,
In our standards.
with there's two shrubs, evergreen shrubs in it.
Yeah.
That,
Okay, so
Of the neighbor.
her window's over here, there's a cutout over here, and then on the opposite side, the west side of the property, there's another cutout in the shrubs that allows you to see the lake.
Right. Okay.
all I can say is I was standing at that fence and I could not see the lake. You
Right.
saw the dense vegetation all the way
this-
down.
Where it is today presents two difficulties. One is that the setback variance is a substantial variance, which doesn't meet the variance standards that we have to judge by.
Mhm.
And the second one being the pyramid variance, because it's so close to the property line, and pyramid variance are often not granted, because it's hard to grant a pyramid variance. And once again, it doesn't meet the variance standards, so we're trying to grapple with.
I mean, would it matter that the property on the northern side there's no one there as far as the eye can see? I mean, that's just open greenery.
It's
Correct, but the
unimproved, but
variance will go
it's owned by
with the
someone.
It's
land.
owned by someone, that is
Yeah.
correct.
yeah.
Okay. Joan, did you have another question?
No, that
No.
that was my question.
Okay. Anyone else for this questions?
No, not at this point.
Tim?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. And you can always have a final comment after we hear from the planning and the public in
Oh.
general.
Did he have an opportunity to see the TAM?
Sorry?
Did he have an opportunity to see the TAM?
I imagine so.
You want to ask him?
Well, it gets
June.
mailed to them. It gets
Oh,
mailed
gets
to them.
Oh. I did have one question.
Could
did
you come back up to the
Sorry.
microphone, please?
The planning department drafts something called a technical analysis memo. Did you have an opportunity to review that?
I does not sound familiar to me. No, I did not review that.
Okay, thank
Well,
you.
Yeah,
It
well,
would've
whoever,
been
they're
forwarded
mailed,
to Ned
they're,
Silver.
they're mailed to the applicant. They
Yeah.
were, yeah, it might have been wise for her to share that memo with you. You can take a look at it now while we move along, okay?
Okay.
Okay, we will now hear from the planning department. Good evening, Eleni.
Good evening.
I guess I'll swear you in for the evening. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I do have, I'm going to bring up the survey.
Okay. Well, that's a lot clearer than the surveys we got.
Really hard to see.
Yeah, I don't see one in here either.
Let's say that the property is located on the north side of Paradise Lane. It's a private road in Montauk. The residence itself.
Laney, can you
Oh,
speak
sorry.
into the mic?
Yeah, sorry, if you could start over.
Is this better?
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
thank you.
Alright, so the property is located on the north side of Paradise Lane. It's a private road in Montauk. The residence itself is pre-existing non-conforming to front and side yard setbacks, and has been in front of the board in the past for front and side yard variances for the patio and arbor, and then a modification for the roof deck. There. This area of Montauk does have extensive freshwater wetlands, and there's a network of swamps, marshes, and streams that flow from the higher elevations down towards Lake Montauk. The wetlands are located to the east and west of this property. The shed where it is 127.7 feet from the closest wetland, so there's not really an issue with that. And the neighboring property to the rear, which the shed is closest to, it's currently vacant. It is privately owned. It's 18.83 acres and A5 zoning. So it is currently vacant, but does have the opportunity. It may be built upon in the future. I do have also a survey showing the building permit from 2016, if you wanted to see the survey where the shed had been located.
I think that's in our packet.
Yes.
If, and board members, you
Yeah.
want to see?
What's the date on this survey?
Yeah, well,
This is June 7th, 2017, which is when the application had started. The application actually started back in 2017 and was incomplete for a little while.
Okay, we have September of 2013 in our file, so we don't have that one.
17, I didn't see it.
No.
Yeah, I don't see it in the main file either, but anyway.
Okay.
we'll
And
look
that
at
reflects the stone patio, the removal of, does that have the stone patio on it?
The stone patio is there, is on the CO. There had been a wood platform that the applicant removed, and it was
Platform.
Any questions?
Yes,
board members?
I would be interested in seeing, can you pull up the permit survey? And maybe we can just have the applicant point to, that location relative to the opening in the hedge.
I don't-
Would it
Sure.
help us?
To me, the neighbor's view
No.
shed has nothing to do with
Right.
anything,
Standard.
anything that we do,
Standards
what
are.
we do.
Yeah.
So I think we're wasting time talking about it. But if you want to see that, go ahead.
No, it's
go ahead.
fine. No, I'm good.
To me,
this is
So
the
that's the conforming location
survey that was associated with the building permit.
with the permit?
Well, isn't the neighbor might not be here tonight thinking that the variance will be granted, but
Well,
if the neighbor finds out that the variance isn't granted and wants to object,
well, the neighbor
they can
was
object.
noticed to be here, and also the fact that the neighbor tells the applicant to put your shed in a
non-conforming
non-conforming location,
location.
Is
it
not
doesn't do
binding.
much for me.
No, it's not binding.
It also doesn't mean that they need to put it where it would block. If they're concerned about that, there are other conforming locations on this
Right.
property where
Right.
it could be placed.
So-
Right,
So
exactly.
it's not an all or nothing kind of scenario. here.
Proposition, right.
I agree.
Exactly.
So, Laney, that's 10 feet from the property, the back property line, the northern property line,
was
right?
supposed
Or
to
the, or then the western.
Yes, it says 10.
And, and with that, there's no pyramid variance required also, right? If it's in that location?
Yes. There would be no pyramid variance required in that location. That was a conforming location,
Okay.
which the building department issued a building permit for.
And as was stated, they could take that shed and move it entirely somewhere else. It looked
That's
like there was
conforming. That's
plenty of room
backyard and that's
for
conforming.
area that conforms,
Right.
yeah.
It's a series of unfortunate events. Any other questions for Eleni, board members?
No.
No? Thank you, Eleni, for your work on this. Anyone here in the public who would like to speak on this? No? Sir, do you want to make a final comment or anything? Yeah, if you're welcome to, but you don't have to. Sure, please.
My only final comment is I do agree with you, and in hindsight, I mean, I would have absolutely never put that shed there. I mean, who wants to go and pay the fees to go and apply for a variance when you don't have to? But
Well,
this is
I-
my mother-in-law, you know, and I'm sure. You know, she tried to be nice, and now it's costing her a lot of money to be nice. And
Sorry.
other people's time is
So
worth
if we
their
could give him
time,
a
my
chance to
time.
say that again.
I'm just
We were-
venting.
We were laughing too hard. Sorry, seriously, could you repeat that, because we were laughing, that was good.
Okay, but no,
Line of the night, actually.
my final statement would just be, you know, there is no one who lives in the property north of her, which is that where the shed is closest to, within the 3 feet. The pyramid law or rule says, you know, it has to be, I guess, a distance of 10 feet away.
If it's 10 feet high, yes.
So at 3 feet away, it's 6 foot high. So she's only 4 feet, you know, or only, you know, she's just shy of meeting the pyramid law if it were to be moved, you know, a little bit. Like I said, there's no one living north of her. That property's empty. It's going to be an added fee for us, which we've already paid already, to go and place the shed there, right or wrong. It's there already.
Did you ever consider just moving the shed before you went through all of this?
It's not my shed. I would have never put the shed there. I would have never put the shed there.
Well,
Well,
the problem
I
with the
think your
property to
mother-in-law
the
was trying to
north
be
is
too
that.
nice.
Thank you for your
Yeah,
honesty.
so- No, we
Too
appreciate
nice.
your-
Thank you for
but
your candor.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to get bonus points for
You know,
that.
the pyramid,
The pyramid law, I know, is what it is.
it goes in perpetuity with
Yeah.
the property, so
Yeah,
We don't
we don't know in the
hand those
future
out.
what the owner of that property might do. you know.
yeah.
Yeah. But thanks, you, for giving it your best effort.
All right.
Okay, I believe that wraps this up. Terry, if you'd like to?
Okay, in the matter of Jeanette Silva, 4080 East Lake Drive, tax map 300-020-03-06. Make a motion to close the public hearing and the public record.
Second. Concur?
Concur.
And I concur. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
That was funny.
Murphy? Is Murphy next?
Okay, 6:50, we're good for this one?
Yep.
Excuse me. Okay, we'll move on to our second public hearing this evening. The applicant here is Christine Murphy. Lot size and location, 74,321 square feet at 257 East Lake Drive in Montauk, tax map number 300-13-1-13 and 19. The description here is to construct 484 square feet of total additions, 370 square feet of slate patios with trellis, 130 square feet of second-story deck, 50 square feet of outdoor shower, 160 square feet of walkways, and an upgraded sanitary system within the town's jurisdiction of bluffs and wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 of the town code, and 7 variances are required for this project. 1 variance of 19.8 feet from 255-4-40 bluff setbacks of the town code is required to construct the second floor decking 30.2 feet from the bluff where 50 feet is required. Variances of 65 feet, 30 feet, 28 feet, 23 feet, and 23 feet are required from 255-4-30 wetland setbacks of the town code to construct the second floor decking 45 feet, outdoor shower 70 feet, addition 72 feet, and slate patio and walkway 77 feet, and trellis 77 feet, where 100-foot setbacks are required. One variance of approximately 1.8 feet is required from 255-11-72D of the town code to construct the additions approximately 1.8 feet outside the town's pyramid regulations and any other relief necessary. This is in an A residence zone, it's in a flood zone X, and the secret class is type 2, and once again, this is in Board Member Berger's Montauk District, so Terry, if you would, oh, I'm sorry, I'll first ask for the affidavit of service and posting, Counsel.
Yes, I have the affidavit of service and posting. Appears that notice was proper.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Terry.
This is, well, the entrance to the driveway of 257. I'm standing on the east side of Westlake Drive. The house is on the west side, fronting Lake Montauk. And this is the notice of posting. It was properly posted. That's just a view from the posting sign looking toward the east again to get the vegetation in the field, the other neighbors on the east side of the street. Now I'm going into the driveway, and the area toward, as I go in, the area toward the left of the driveway as I enter is, if you go to the next shot, there are a couple of posts already put in the ground. The area where there's going to be trellis, the proposed trellis, pool house, and pool and decking toward the south side of that. And continue, it's somewhat of a shot of the front of the existing house today. I'm going to continue walking down there and walk around the house. Now it's a shot from the southern part of it where the current second floor exists today. And this is, well, I'm still in the front, and I'm going to walk toward the lake, toward the east on this. See where the IA system, the proposed IA system is going to be in that area, somewhat near the front door area to the north side of the parking area. It's a shot from, now gone through the gate, and now I'm standing on the lake side and just shooting back at the house to show the outdoor shower that's there today. And it's a shot across the back of the house going south to north. I couldn't get it all in one shot, so there will be the rest of it, I believe, in the next shot. Yeah. May not flow great, but that's the staircase on the northern side then, and heading toward the north part of the house. Next, I just took a shot down toward where the stairs are going down to the lake and the existing dock, and walk up toward the north. Another shot. Mostly, I thought it was a nice shot. Anyway, not really showing where the bulk. There is some bulkheading there, but next, another shot of that looking north, and then I'm going to go to the north, and that's a shot from the center, and give you a better feel for the back of the existing house today. The terrace, and then that's the northern part next, and there's the nearest affected neighbor up to the north of this property. And yeah, is that it?
That was it.
That's it. Okay. That's the final shot, the northern side of the house.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. Any questions, board members, on the field report? No? Okay. Joel, good evening. Good evening, Joel.
Joel Halsey on behalf of the property owners for 257 Eastlake Drive.
Okay, great. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Although the numerosity of the variances requested is large, being that there are 7 requested, it should be noted that the requested pyramid variance is not required, as that is for a pre-existing portion of the residence. There was a misunderstanding with me, so with that misunderstanding, discussing that with the planning department, I was under the impression that it required a pyramid variance, but I completely misunderstood what was going on. I applied for the pyramid variance, only to realize in the technical analysis memo that it wasn't required. That said, the required 6 variances are not substantial and are for relatively minor structures. The addition, which is the largest proposed structure, is only 484 square feet. This is a small increase of the gross floor area of the existing residence by 17%. The property owners are not seeking a large addition. This addition is mostly located in the common areas, which increases the living area by 360 square feet. The remaining 124 square feet will allow for an addition of a bedroom. I understand that this can effectively increase the intensity of use on the property, but as the house is currently set up, it is for all intents and purposes a 6-bedroom house and not a 4-bedroom house as referenced in the 1977 certificate of occupancy.
And why is that?
Just because in 1977, the way bedrooms were designated was a lot different than the way they are designated in 2019.
They used to count bathrooms, I think, back then.
Counted bathrooms. If the room didn't have a closet, it was not really considered a bedroom. Now, a room doesn't need a closet. All it essentially needs is a door, and to be 70 square feet, it's a bedroom.
Right. So there's an existing, it's a 4-bedroom system in there.
There's an existing 4-bedroom system since, I'm going to guess 1977. That's when the CO was issued. There's no date on the building permit for when the building permit was issued.
And
Obviously,
your IA is for what, a 7-bedroom or something?
the IA will be for a 7-bedroom, yes.
Okay.
The proposed sanitary upgrade should be more than enough mitigation to offset the slight increase in intensity of use. The existing system has been in the ground since at least 1977. The components of the system are not known. If it was built at this time, it does likely contain a tank and leaching ring, but it presently is located less than 100 feet from the wetlands. The new system is proposed to be more than at least 135 feet, if not more, from the wetlands. And I apologize, I don't have a revised survey to show where the sanitary system will be located. I will have that revised survey in the next few weeks. I was able to submit a revised sanitary plan. There was a lot of back and forth with me between the sanitary engineer trying to get this taken care of in an expeditious way. It did not happen that way, unfortunately. And he was only able to provide me with unscalable plans. I will have scalable plans as soon as you will have scalable plans as soon as I have them, which should hopefully be by the end of next week or end of this week or early next
And
week.
I think later Michael can pull that up and explain what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So the survey you're talking about now is May 17th, 2019?
It doesn't show the sanitary,
Revision.
the new sanitary revision that puts the
Right.
location further from the wetlands.
But it is dated May 17th, is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The existing system is outdated and old. Being that the system is 41 years old, it is likely not functioning properly, and the amount of nitrogen being released into Lake Montauk far exceeds what the new system will be releasing. The existing system could be releasing 40 pounds or more of nitrogen a year, whereas the new system could reduce this level of nitrogen to 10 pounds or less a year. The new system will also help to reduce or eliminate levels of contaminants such as pharmaceuticals, personal care products, and volatile organic compounds found in traditional cesspools and septic systems. In deciding whether to grant the variances, obviously the board understands the 5 variance standards. The locations for all these structures are the minimum variance necessary. Obviously, the additions are both on the landward side of the house, so not on the water side of the house. There is decking proposed on the Lake Montauk side of the house, but for obvious reasons, anyone can understand why that decking would be proposed there. It is a wonderful view and one that they want to take more advantage of with the decking. The outdoor shower, there is an existing outdoor shower there now, as you can see from this picture. They're just going to move it slightly and rebuild a new one. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Could you comment on the TAM? The TAM commented, had raised 2 issues. One, that and I'll just read it. The planning department estimates that there is roughly 3,000 square feet that could be revegetated.
Along the front of the property? Or the water side of the
Between the
property?
residence and the pool area.
Oh, between the residence and the pool area?
Yeah.
There is definitely a large area of lawn on that side. This area will have a portion of the sanitary system. This will be where a portion of the sanitary system is. The applicants are willing to add more revegetation along the, as you can also see, along the perimeter of the property. There is also area that they could add revegetation along the perimeter of the property.
Well,
If
What about the bluff line?
along the bluff line, I think that was also referenced in the technical analysis memo. If
Yeah,
you go to the
thank you.
picture that shows the front of the property, that'd be, I think, yeah, keep going, keep one, there we go. Oh, yeah, okay, or you can, but as you can see from this picture and the previous picture, they'd like to use the front of the property for use. Now, we had proposed a revegetation, I think, between 10 and 15 feet away from the edge of construction, or the edge of the house, the deck. They will need, if you would like a little more revegetation along the bluff side, we're definitely amenable to something like that, but we would definitely like to leave at least a 10.
But don't you think that's critical to the health of Lake Montauk?
Yes, and I think we
I mean,
proposed, presently, I think we're proposing almost a 30-foot revegetation along the bluff, or 15 foot, I don't have my.
I like that first one. 30 foot.
30.
It's probably about 15 feet along the bluff right now. We would need access around that. You want to maintain an access around the house. That was discussed in a previous application we had done, I had done before the board. And I think 10 foot was kind of a realistic number that you want to maintain around the house for fire purposes and just access alone.
And
Right now, it's about 15 feet from the revegetation to the existing terrace. We could possibly, if you want to shoot out a number, we could bring it to 10 feet from the existing structure, and go from 10 feet from the existing structure to the bulkhead or edge of mean high water. Or edge
So
of,
maybe later when Michael, and I won't cut you off, John,
No.
later when Michael can pull it up on the screen, we can have a little dialogue about that. We can pick up on this again later in the meeting. Joan, go ahead.
My other question was, the TAM said that if the pool hasn't been constructed yet, and it appears it hasn't, that there was possibly a more conforming location for the septic system?
there was actually a more conforming location for the septic system without needing to move the pool. As I showed by revising the sanitary plan.
Oh, so you've taken care of that comment in the TAM?
Yes, and
Okay.
technically you could probably turn the pool about 180 degrees and pick up another 10 feet for the sanitary system. That, unfortunately, if you go to the other picture, Beth, can I see the picture of going down the driveway? There's one here, you can see this large oak tree, it's probably over 100 years old, and there's a further one that's probably 75 years old.
Yeah.
That if we were to do that, those would be cut down.
Okay,
Joe,
thank you.
we'll circle back to it, but this may be the most busy survey I've ever seen. So I'm having a real hard time figuring out revegetation lines and that kind of thing. So
Okay.
when we do get to that, it would be great if you could supply something that was a
A
little
little bit more,
better color-coded for those of us that
Yeah.
don't speak survey as well
just
as
be
me.
colorblind,
Yeah.
it'd be easier.
Well, actually, that points out, where is the pyramid that you thought was, where was that,
Pyramid would have been on, right,
Yeah.
that peak?
Lighter shaded.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, why don't we move along?
But it's really wasn't clear.
Good evening, Michael.
Evening, board members. Mike Delalia for the Planning Department.
Thank you. I'll swear you in for the evening, Michael. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Evening, board members. As Joel lined out, these are, considering the nonconformity of the current building and the entire lot with regards to clearing, these are relatively minor. So here's the May 17th, 2019 survey. This was actually, I believe, the first survey that came in with the application. There should be one dated, I believe July 2nd. It was referenced in the assessment.
There's something dated July 29th, 2019? It shows
Is that
some
in the
proposed revegetation.
So, okay, this is probably it. It's a black and white copy on this end, so it
Yeah.
may be a little harder to pick up on. So, where the sanitary plan that Joel submitted within the last week is roughly over here. So it is in a more conforming location than previously proposed, which is in a more conforming location than currently existing. With regards to the revegetation that was proposed, it's currently proposed along the north side and the west side of the parcel, right up to the bluff line. We had outlined in the assessment on these H-pod lots where they're non-conforming to clearing, you know, these are chances to bring them closer to that. With the development going on outside of the board's jurisdiction, development going on within our jurisdiction, there's not a lot of room to bring it down to conformity by any stretch of the imagination. Conforming would be 10,000 square feet of total clearing. But we would like the board to consider getting it as close as reasonable as Joel outlined. A lot of that would end up having to go over the sanitary for a large majority of it. To get it as close as we can. I did outline some areas that approximate to about 3,000 square feet.
Could you, pardon me, could you zoom in on the essence of that survey, just to make it more clear for us? I mean, from here. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, that's much better. Thank you, Michael.
This is July 10th, 2019. And so I increased it to approximately within 5 feet of the existing structures. And
When you say you increased it, are you
The-
pointing to
the
the
buffer.
yellow?
Yeah, so these are all the
Okay.
edits that I had made. And these are areas that could be revegetated, totaling about 3,000 square feet. And I did leave the area over the sanitary off for the reason that we don't necessarily count some of that. And a lot of the revegetation that we see over sanitary is a lot of grasses. We don't want things that are going to go into the system or cause problems later. So we generally try to leave those out of any areas of reveg.
But nonetheless, native grasses could be planted.
They
instead
could
of
definitely
turf
be
lawn.
planted. It's, you know, these are the areas that we had outlined. To create a conforming location, though, with this being an upgrade, the only way to get a conforming location would be to redevelop the entire lot. You could put the sanitary system in the driveway without having to change the pool or the pool house or anything like that, but that would likely cause issues with the dry wells coming off the end. And again, this is an upgrade, so getting it approximately 135 feet away from the wetlands is a
So-
gross improvement over the current system.
Two questions. What is the distance, well, I have the survey here, but I'm curious the distance between is it a terrace? That's the first portion of the house, is it? Yeah, the existing terrace and
Right here.
the existing vegetation, is that about 15 feet? And you
From the existing,
Yeah.
it's cleared right down to the bulkhead.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess
So
what I'm
between
getting
the
at,
existing terrace and here, I don't believe we have a measure tool on this version.
about 15, yeah.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if we're this to the second story deck is 30, so it's roughly 15. You know, even if you cut it down the middle,
Yeah, I was
you
just.
know,
just
about
two
halfway
comments.
between the existing terrace and the bluff line.
I guess if Joel was amenable, or the applicant was amenable to doing something like dividing that in half, I could see why you might want more than 5 feet for firefighting and other,
I could
like 8 feet,
understand that.
half of that. And the other
Yeah.
thing, especially if Joel or the applicant was amenable to revegetating the, over the sanitary system with native as opposed to turf lawn, which down the road, changing owners, whatever, can start getting fertilized and all sorts of, that sort of thing, So maybe Joel, later, you can comment on your thoughts on that stuff? Okay. Go ahead, Michael.
That's really all I have, unless the board has any questions for myself.
Do you think the sanitary system is enough mitigation to allowing a non-conforming house to expand in this way? Sounds like, on the TAM, that
Well, the,
It's up to us.
the sanitary, yeah, I mean, the sanitary system would be in the most conforming location, without having to change the existing building permit. So, I mean, it's really only, as Joel outlined, it's an addition of 484 square feet on a roughly 1,700 square foot house.
I believe
So
there's
it's,
no
you
additional
know, it's
footprint,
less than
correct?
a
No
quarter.
addition-
There will be an additional footprint on this side.
On the backside, right?
Yeah, on the backside. Aside from the decking over the currently existing patio, is the only thing going on the lake side.
And the driveway is being relocated on this as well, or no?
It's being cut back. Currently, the driveway is this big sweeping,
Yeah, it goes all the way around.
and it's being cut back to be more of a streamlined driveway with a parking area
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah.
What is contributing to almost a 3,000 square foot additional lot coverage?
That's the
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Probably the
Yeah.
the stuff out of jurisdiction.
I think that's a good question.
Is it total
Oh.
lot or is it
Oh, probably, yeah. Yeah, that,
likely
so,
the stuff that's outside of our jurisdiction? The total coverage is going to be dropping.
okay, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that, and we can ask Joel this, oh, you probably know, Michael, is that a quartz driveway, permeable?
It just says
Proposed?
proposed driveway outlined in the
Joel
assessment that it
Joel's
should be a
nodding
quartz
his head
driveway. It's
yes.
currently a
Yes.
quartz driveway.
would be a
And it should remain as
Can I,
such.
Yeah.
can I ask a question on the top yellow strip that runs along the driveway?
It runs along the driveway, yeah.
So, and you're proposing that be revegetated with native plants?
Yeah.
All-
What
all of the yellow.
what is there now?
Sod. Nearly the entire lot, if I get.
Yeah, there was a lot of
There's a lot of
green and a lot of driveway.
And how much, how
Currently,
many,
this is what the entire lot looks like, where it's
how,
largely sod.
how many square feet would that chunk alone add?
Offhand, I don't know.
Okay, because I just can't tell from the measurements. Is it-
Total, those three sections along the
39.
bluff is about 3,000 square
Yeah.
feet. So along the bluff, the driveway, and the south side of the
I mean,
parcel is about
These two
3,000
alone are
square
pretty
feet.
So you would agree that it would be, would you agree that it would be
These two
significant
alone
to
are
use native species over the sanitary system, even though it does not count as re-veg?
Yeah.
You could, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
would it-
Could you leave your drawing back up?
Yeah, because,
Because I want to ask Joel some questions
yeah,
about it.
maybe, Michael, you could stay up there with Joel, we can kind of hash this out a
So,
little bit.
Joel, my first question is, do you think
Why?
your client has an objection to revegetating by the driveway? That upper line and then?
I don't know if we necessarily have an objection to revegetating by the driveway, but I'd like to come up with like a square footage number. If you say, if that's say 3,000 square feet, we're gonna subtract a little here to increase it. You know, if we can say, we'll come up with like, you know,
Well,
a 4,200 square foot.
We're not fixated on 3,000, we're just looking
Well,
for areas that might be, might
He's willing
add,
to do more.
Yes, I'm willing to do more, but I don't know if I
Yeah,
necessarily want to say,
got it.
this is where I want to do it.
Yeah.
right.
We have this whole, we could kind of do like more along the perimeters and come up with, you know, another 1,500 square feet or 1,200 square feet. Because, you know, obviously they have, you know, they have small children, so they'd still like, you know,
Some
a
yard.
yard to play some baseball in or
Yeah, yeah.
kickball or something like that in. Now, you know, we would definitely be, you know, amenable to that, but I'd like to have a number either from the planning department or from the zoning board to say, hey, this is the number we want you to shoot for, go for it.
But for me, the bluff side of the house is critical, so we gotta max that out.
Well, we're gonna max that out. We've already agreed to max that out with enough space between the house and the re-veg. I'm sorry, I'll keep going on the clearing if there's any more questions on it.
I'll just say, I'm not uncomfortable with the idea of 3,000 square feet, as long as we're protecting to the max that we can the bluff area.
Yeah.
Okay.
But an additional 3,000 would work for me, for sure.
So we could say like, you know, we
And
could,
4,500 would work even better, but I'm amenable to letting you come back and think about it. And
Okay.
come back and
Come back with a plan
Maybe
to-
we leave the written record open just for the re-veg plan from you.
re-veg plan and the revised surveys.
And the revised, right, exactly.
And you know, I did want to touch on the coverage numbers. If you look, I don't know if you have the July 10th, 2019 survey. There is a breakdown of the coverage numbers.
Okay.
Within jurisdiction of 150 feet, the existing is 2677. The proposed within 150 feet, this is roof structure, obviously, because is going to go to 2946, slight increase. The total coverage number within jurisdiction is actually going to go down from 8,661 to 7,245 square feet. So we're losing coverage within 150 feet of the wetlands, but we're picking up more coverage outside of 150 feet of the wetland, obviously, because of the pool and whatnot.
Where do you see?
No, it's on the
So that
side.
would be this one.
Wow,
Yeah, this is an older survey, though. This is May 17th.
yeah.
Okay, so for whatever reason, we don't have a copy of that survey.
That's July.
Well,
Yeah.
Stamped in July 12th, 2019.
Yeah, we don't have it. We just have a photocopy,
Huh.
but we don't have the calculations.
1, 2, 3, because nowadays we only have to submit 3 surveys
Yeah, I think we might want to
and,
change that.
and an email with the surveys on them.
We're very tactile up here,
Yeah.
Joel.
It used to be, I did submit 12. Never knew what the other 7 were for.
So, how long do you think you'd need?
Here, no, I have one here. Okay. I do have the July, if anyone needs to take a quick look now.
Uh,
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Oh, you said you'd come back with a new proposed revegetation plan and the new septic survey. I was just wondering, do you need 2 weeks?
You know,
Or-
Walbridge has been really busy lately, so I'd prefer to ask for 3 weeks, just to give
Yeah,
them
we just need to know for calendar
3 weeks. We'll go
purposes.
3 weeks.
You see those calculations?
Okay. Okay, I think we're squared away with you, Joel, right, for now?
I'll get out of your way.
We'll see if there's anyone. Michael, have you finished, Michael? You good? Okay, thank you, Michael, for your work on this. Is there anyone here in the public who would like to speak on this application? No? Okay. Okay, Terry.
Leave it open for how long?
How
3
much time do
weeks.
you want? Did
3
you s-
weeks?
3 weeks, okay.
Okay. In the matter of Christine Murphy, 257 East Lake Drive, Montauk, tax map 300-013-01-13 and 19. Make a motion to close the public hearing, leave the written record open for 3 weeks, which, in order for the agent to submit an updated survey with the septic system relocations and updated revegetation proposal. I make,
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
I was gonna say that.
Concur.
And I concur. Okay. Okay, thank you, Joel.
We
Thanks,
have
Michael, for your work on that.
5 minutes, John.
5 minutes, okay.
Do we have anything we can do in the 5 minutes?
Yeah, we can find
I'm sure
something
that
to do.
there's something that we can do,
There's always something.
even if it's take a time out.
Right. I think we should take it.
No, fine.
Good date on here,
What's
we
the
have July 10th.
Yeah, July 10th.
Your ankle. Oh.
I'll have to go get a copy of that one.
Okay, we have a couple of minutes before our next
You have an agent here?
hearing. I don't see the agent, maybe they're just coming in now. Okay.
It's 7:30, right?
7:30.
Yeah. I don't know if we have much we can do in 12 minutes. Do we have? We're not doing
motions?
Nothing, we just take a stretch.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into that all at the end with that. Okay, so we'll take 5 minutes until our next, until the public hearing will start. So we'll take a little 5-minute break. LTV, if you would, LTV, thank you.
A barrier.
Good now? LT, wait for Denise, maybe. Should be blinking.
You're good,
Yeah.
it's blinking.
LTV, we're back on LTV? Good. Okay.
Sore throat.
Okay, We will commence with our final public hearing. The applicant is Nicholas Greco. Lot size and location, 20,223 square feet total at 117 Bayview Avenue, Hollymere, number 316, lots 40 to 52, in Amagansett, tax map number 300-84-1-3.1. Description is to demolish an existing 1- and 2-story residence and sanitary system and construct a 2,604 square foot 2-story residence with approximately 1,237 square feet of decking, sanitary system, and driveway on a parcel of land containing tidal and freshwater wetlands, beaches, and surface waters. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 and variances from 255-4-40 minimum wetland setbacks, 255-11-72 pyramid setbacks, 255-11-10 Table 3 of the Town Code, and any other relief necessary. The following 8 variances are required in this application. Variances of 1, I'll start over. Variances of 1, 81.2 feet, and 2, 84 feet are required to construct a residence and decking 18.8 feet and 16 feet from wetlands where 100-foot setback is required. 3, a 139-foot variance is required to allow the sanitary system to be installed 11 feet from wetlands where 150-foot setback is required. 4, a 50-foot variance is required to allow vegetation to be removed up to the wetland boundary where a 50-foot setback is required. Variances of 5, 7 feet, 6, 7.5 feet, and 7, 8 inches are required to allow the residence to exceed the relative height pyramid limitation from the western, eastern, and southern lot lines. And 8, a 4-foot variance is required to allow the residence to extend 29 feet above natural grade where 25 feet is the maximum permitted for a flat roof structure. This is an A residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do have the affidavit of service and posting. Appears that notice was proper.
Thank you. Okay, this is in my Amagansett district, so I will do a field report. I wonder, Beth, if you'd be so kind to kind of zoom in on these if you could. Makes for a much better show to our viewers. There we go. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, the first slide shows us that it actually is not properly posted. You can see the little stick on the left, and the placard is in the dirt. And I actually want to talk to Richard, the applicant's agent, when he gets up here. You know, 2 things about this I want to discuss with him and with council is that it seems to me this is a private road that says at the end of the road, you know, do not enter, that kind of thing, you know, and then you drive all the way down and you finally see it, and it was literally had 2 staples. Here you're out on Gardeners Bay, and you've got literally 2 staples that, and I'm wondering who posted this, and I think we somehow have to, board members, start thinking about these things being properly posted. It seems to me it's the applicant's agent or the applicant that should be responsible, so that when we go out, we see it posted, so that everyone in the neighborhood sees it posted. And also, the conversation about it being, when it's a private road, it seems a copy of it, and we can talk to council, should be, somehow the public should know that this is going on. Because no one knows what's happening, especially when it's in the ground like that with 2 staples on a windy site such as this. So that's my venting for that, and we'll pick up on that later. Next, I'm sorry, I'll continue here. So you see the house, the subject house in the background. This is the end of Bayview. As board members all know this area very well. The Ruru property is just to the right of the slide here, and at the right side of the slide, you're just seeing a peekaboo through there. And this is, I'd also like to see what Richard Whalen thinks about. We don't have to really get into this too much, but anyway, it's maybe this is not the time. But as far as that whole public access, there's a walkway to the beach there, and at some point, I'm curious to know if it's public or not public, or what's going on there. So this is a fence, the gate to the driveway right there, the house beyond. Next slide, please, Counsel. Okay, now, just to get a character of the neighborhood, I'm kind of panning off to the north, and that again is across the street or across Bayview is the Ruru property on the water. And then here I spin around, and I'm looking to the, north here, looking to the, pretty much south. Yeah, I'm kind of looking pretty much south almost there, really. Back down Bayview, and this is the wetlands. Oh, good, that's much better. Thank you, Beth. Beautiful wetlands, obviously, that whole area, all back there. And that would be the gate where you have the cursor on the right-hand side would be kind of the gate to the driveway, to the subject residence. Next, please. This is just a shot towards the, through that walkway or that path, whatever you want to call it there. This is how I kind of use the gate. I believe the gate was locked, so this is how I access the property. So now I've walked up through that path, and again, just for some of the character of where we are in the world here. Beautiful spot. That is looking up the beach, looking to the right, looking to the north, and east, up the beach. We all know this area, and that's a Ruru property on the right side of the screen there.
And those geotextile bags are exposed?
And they are exposed, yep. Now, I believe I do a 180 here. Yeah, I do a 180. Now I'm looking up the beach towards the west, almost due west right here. And these are the forefront. I'm still kind of at the end of that path, so the subject property is right there beyond where you see the vegetation starts, the plugs, the beach grass plugs, and the fence. Again, you've got the geocubes exposed all along the whole front of this property. Now I'm turned to the left and kind of looking south at the house from the same portion of the existing house. Kind of looking due south right there, and the wetlands in the background. Now I'm walking along the water, looking to the again to the west, and you see how the geohead turns the corner and the beautiful beach beyond. Now I'm turning around from there back to give you another view of the existing residence and the wetlands in the background.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
was struck by the property being mounded and surrounded by wetlands along the side and rear of the property.
Completely, yes, completely. It's just a filled, I agree. You're up high there, yeah, and you're standing on all fill, obviously. There's also, yeah, actually, this is a good slide, if you could zoom in on this too, Beth, thank you. Because these are the sandbags returning in, and you see how it's mounted up, obviously. There's also, if you could when you get a chance, there's also a little bit of structure that's been built. If you could even zoom in further, at the end, there's like a dock, like a platform. See the right side of this?
Mm-hmm.
It's about 4 feet by 12 feet. It's kind of steps and framing and ACQ wood that's been put there. There's also lights along the beach, and there's also some stone paving walkway, kind of like cover tops, leaching pool covers in the sand. And then I continue to walk. Now I'm walking along the property. Along the west side of the property. I'm looking back towards Bayview and to the south east. That's a car that's parked inside the subject property, and the gate would be just to the left of that car, to the driveway gate. And again, you see how it's just mounded up, and then it just drops right off to the wetlands. Now I'm kind of turning left and looking north and a little bit east as well, just to give you a sense of the property around the house there. Thanks, Beth. And then I turn and I look back towards that same car, just so you sort of see what it looks like inside the back of the house, the property. there. I think the last slide, I think I turned 90 degrees to the right, just, that's the back of the house again, just give you a reference of what's going on back there. I think that may be it, Beth, is that it? Might be it. That's it, right? Okay. Okay, board members, any questions? No?
We'll hire you as photographer.
Just,
Okay.
what my
Yeah.
question would be,
Yeah.
what survey date are we working from?
Yeah, let's get
'Cause
that right, yeah.
I think I have one from April 1st of 2011, which
Mm-hmm.
obviously shows the,
We have September 5th, 2019 that we got on September 13th.
okay.
Let's see, oh, here we go.
The latest? Rick, is that the latest, September 15th, 2019?
September 5th, 2019.
Fifth.
You're asking the date of the latest survey?
Yeah.
September 5th, 2019.
And the application survey is that April 1st?
The original application survey?
What was the application that
I have April
was?
The application was
accompanied,
resubmitted in April.
Oh,
The application goes back to 2017.
why is
It
this?
was resubmitted, I believe, in April. But the most recent survey for your
I'm
file
just saying,
should be September
but
5th.
you're submitting a September 5th. So there's obviously differences. I'm looking for the survey that was submitted with the application with a notice. I have an April 1st.
I have an April 1st, 2011 survey.
2011.
That's what I have.
Sanitation.
Only one I have.
Let's see, I got, and then I have,
Maybe to show what the existing.
and then I, oh, no, here I have February 28th, 2017.
I don't have
I
that
don't
one.
have that.
Oh, where's February? Yeah, for February 8th?
That's more.
Yeah, but there's,
I mean, let's take a
2019
look
is
at
the
that.
one that we.
Yeah, I know, so, that's for the file, just so you know, you'll give it back, I'm sure.
Oh, I
Let
see.
me keep looking.
This might be it,
All right, here, now I have another one here, this might be it.
because that's changed.
Well, this is 2011, and that's this, and now I have another one here, that might be
It's
the.
2017.
17, I mean, this is 2011, yeah.
Well, I'm looking for the changes
I-
between the application
yeah.
and now.
All right, here, now I have the one, this is the most recent, oh, between when it was submitted, the
It
application.
would have been an April 16th, 2019
So
survey?
now I have, yeah, now, board members, I have a September 5th, 2019, only one copy of here.
Well, it's September 5th.
Okay. Does everyone have a September 5th or only me?
Yep.
Yes.
I do not.
Yeah,
I
let's share.
don't.
Can I ask a practical
It came
question?
with the,
Yeah.
it's on the backside of the wetland, on this.
We're now told a lot of
don't
times
have
to
that
submit
I don't
3
have
hard
that either.
copies and then electronic copies.
I know,
So how do you get copies of the surveys?
I
Some of
know,
you, you're not
we're
getting
going
them,
to change, we're changing this policy. It's,
especially
no-
with
no
the
need to go
survey.
on. We're
Yeah,
changing-
I'd rather give you the hard copy.
I know, we're changing, that's changing, we have to change that right away, as soon as we can. yes.
We'll make sure that we submit.
So before we get on,
Can you pass that down, the Rick Whalen?
This thing?
letterhead? Yeah,
As long as you pass it back.
yeah, we'll pass it back.
Why is my copy?
okay,
Mr.
so, go ahead, Rick.
No,
Well, let me just introduce myself, and then I know you have questions. So
Right.
Richard Whalen of Whalen Filer, I am the attorney for the applicants, Nicholas and Diana Greco, and they are here tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Mis-
Let's start, you go ahead, Roy.
Oh, I'd like to ask a line of questioning, if you will, on the, with the existing hardened structure that's there with the geotextile. Is there currently a permit for that?
We have an appeal pending to this board, and
But
that's all I want to say about that. The purpose of this application is to build a new house in a conforming coastal setback so that the geotextile tubes can be removed. We're trying to move the house back, so it's no longer in
Okay,
danger.
just for
At
the
that
record,
time,
just for the record, for this,
geotextile bags will
hearing,
be
this property has a history of replenishing the dune. And the geotextiles appeared with an emergency permit. That
Yes.
was a time period.
Yes.
But they also expand past the right-of-way, which is called Bayview Avenue, as you can see on the survey.
Right.
So this is in complete violation and stands in violation because that emergency permit has a duration on it.
Mr. Deline, 2 comments. Number one, the permit application that was approved by the building department showed sandbags across the end of Bayview Avenue. Whether that was right or wrong, that's what the permit was for. I didn't
Right.
submit the
But the
application.
permit, that's with, let me just interrupt, just so you know, when the permit's granted, Rick, you know this.
Yes, they were
It has
issued to
sand
First
where,
Coastal.
where pedestrian can walk down sand
I don't
covered.
believe there was a ramp or anything on the.
No, no. My point is, the geo, and Brian will fill us in on this, and we don't even have to go, when these things are approved in the diagrams, the geothermals I mean, textile cubes are put there, and sand is buried over them into a natural slope of sand. And they were supposed to be always covered with sand if the sand washes away. So that's an important thing to know.
I believe
You
that they
should-
were covered. I don't know how many times they have been covered since then. Obviously, right now, they're not covered.
Right, so people who normally do use this to get to the beach have to, I was just there, you'd have to jump down about 9 feet and break the
Not
leg.
9 feet, you'd down climb. I looked at it myself. I was there today also.
Right, so
Well,
did-
it's 3 cubes high, Rick. If we can
So-
go back to the picture.
so then you would,
Done. The purpose of tonight's application is for us to build a new house so those geotextile cubes are removed.
but they're an important factor to us, and I'm just going to say you would be in violation of the DEC permit, even so, if they're exposed.
I'm not going to get into the permit other than to say that our position, we have an appeal pending before you.
You have
and
a-
you're already making comments about the legality of the structure. Our position is that the permit issued by the building department should be reissued. And an application to do so was made by First Coastal. And there is an appeal that you will be hearing at some point in time. So
So we
I would
can-
advise you not to be prejudging an application that is going to be coming before you. We haven't gotten a chance to make our case to you.
Okay, well, when you make your case, you might want to go back to the initial thing and,
We will go through the whole history of what was done.
well, you should
would
educate
be part of
yourself
the
on, you
appeal.
should educate yourself as the applicant's agent on.
I'm not here to discuss that tonight, so I'm
Okay.
not, I didn't
Well, let's go back
refamiliarize
to-
myself with every,
so-
every fact. in that.
Yeah, we'll go back now, but getting back to my business, do you know who posted this property?
Yes, it would have been posted by my paralegal, Kimberly Ovando, in my office.
Okay,
And I
so,
believe it should be on the person posting it should be, Beth
yes,
can check.
no,
it
I'm
should
talking
be on
about
the affidavit.
physically, I'm talking about physically with 2 staples.
I wasn't there to see what she did. She'll post, she'll take a photograph to verify she posts things. It's a coastal area of East Hampton, and you're into September now, and, we had a rainstorm with 2.5 inches of rain in about an hour.
That's
2
what I'm
days
getting
ago.
at, Rick, it's the applicants is supposed to post things properly so that they are posted for the public to see. This is at the end of a private road that says do not enter, and also it has literally two staples in it from a staple gun. And I think,
Can't speak to that.
well, you do a lot of these applications, and I'm going to start saying this at every meeting when it comes up like this, and I'd like to talk to council about this, because these are meant to be posted so the public, they're called a posting, you know that, and they should be done properly. And sometimes they're done very well in a frame, and they don't blow out, and it's great, everyone sees it. When someone comes and does 2 staples, that's just not responsible. That's my point.
Well, my first comment was I will go back to my office and, I take your point. I understand the point, John.
You can go look at the
Seems-
post at the
Yeah,
site.
it seems that in an area like this, you have to maybe take extra precautions to make sure it survives. I will note that the town of East Hampton has a triplicate form of public notice. The town itself posts, public hearing notice in the newspaper. We are required to send notice to adjoining property owners, and finally, there's the posted sign. So the town does that deliberately to try to backstop if any one of the posted methods fails.
I know, but the public notices typically are on the street so that people in the neighborhood can know that there's a hearing going on this evening.
It has to be on the property, facing the street.
I know, but there's some,
It has to be, this is a very weird one. I do remember when Kimberly went to post it, she asked me, where do I post this on the property? We didn't talk about the method, but where do I post it? Because, when you look at a tax map, the property there's only a corner of the property that really fronts on Bayview Avenue. So it's, other than the pathway, which nobody's going to be able to see it if you post it in there. So that was not an easy place to post.
I'll talk to council about this, about
But
the private
I
roads.
take your comments, and in the future, I'll make sure that we do something that's more secure.
I hope so. Okay, continue. Good evening.
Okay.
Continue, please.
Back to the background of this property. It's been in the Greco family since it was built. The house was built in 1979, 1980. Nick himself tells me that he worked on the house when it was under construction. His father built it. You can see that the property at that time, obviously this is wetland regulations. It's 1979. They got a building permit. The property was filled at that time, and you can still see that evidence of the fill today. What we're trying to do, of course, is to move this back to the most, the most landward location we can on the property due to erosion. The property's been there, the house has been there for 40 years now, and erosion has proceeded, particularly in the last 25 years or so, and the house has become endangered. So that's the nature of the application. We need wetland variances because the property is surrounded by wetlands. It was when it was built, and it is today. We need a height variance because we are building in a location where the ground elevation is barely above 4 feet, and the required first floor elevation under FEMA is 12 feet. And we need a permit law variance for the same reason. We're kind of tucking ourselves into that southeast corner of the property to get as far away from the coastline as we can, and it's tight with regard to pyramid. So we will need permit law variances on the south, the west, and the north sides. Basically, the project here is something the town has advocated for a long time in endangered coastal areas, and that is strategic retreat. We're moving the house to the most landward location on the property. We physically can't move it any further landward. We may have a little discussion later about the location of the sanitary system, but the sanitary system, in the judgment of our engineer, this was the only place you could put it on the property. So we're physically as far from the coast as we can be. We actually meet the coastal setback, ironically, which is only 75 feet, and we'll be around 89 feet back. But obviously, we realize that every foot helps, every foot counts in this location. We tried to make the house as compact as possible by making it 2 stories. This application was originally submitted in 2017. At that time, it was a 1-story house. The planning department did a review memo on it and did not like the application, so we met with Brian Frank, and Brian, as I said in the letter I just submitted to you on last week, Brian's advice at the time was twofold. Number one, make it a 2-story house and try to make it as compact as you can, and secondly, maximize your coastal setback. So we feel that we have done that. That's what the planning department had recommended in 2017, and we feel that we followed their advice. In terms of the house itself, it's important to compare what we have today to what we're proposing. And I want to say that in particular with regard to the wetland setbacks. The existing house proposes wetland setbacks that are minimum wetland setbacks of 18.8 feet. That's from the southwest corner of the house. Most of the existing house, proposed house, would be around 24 feet, would be about 25 or 26 feet from the wetlands. The existing house is 24 feet from wetlands. The decking, the proposed deck is 16 feet from wetlands. The existing decking is less than 15 feet from wetlands. The proposed sanitary system is 11 feet from the wetlands. The existing sanitary system is 13 feet from the wetlands. The house footprint is only going up by 181 square feet. The current house footprint or building coverage is 1,123 square feet, and that goes to 1,301 square feet. So again, we're only increasing the footprint of the house by 181 square feet. The decking actually is reduced in size. In essence, if you look at that September.
I'm sorry, could you just repeat that again? The
said
square
the
footage of the house?
Footage of the house, the ground floor area now, this is the footprint.
Yeah.
Current house is 1,123 square feet, and that information is on the survey.
Okay.
And the proposed square footage is 1,304 square feet. That's building coverage. 1,123 to 1,304.
Okay. And then the current house is roughly 1,602 square feet, I think.
So, I'm sorry.
Current house, as it's, I think based on the TAM, is about 1,600 square feet.
The current house GFA is, where do I have this here? The GFA of the current house, and Nick himself had to go back and remeasure this. There are, in both the existing and the proposed house, there are cathedral ceiling areas. So, for example, in the new house, bear that in mind, some of it, and we can provide you with the exact figure if you want to know it, some of that is not actual floor area. It's a cathedral ceiling, 15-foot high space, it doubled. But the square footage numbers, the existing house is 1,766 square feet. The proposed house is 2,351 square feet. 1,766, 2,351.
And can you speak to the increase, if there is any, in bedrooms or bathrooms on that?
The existing house, I believe, has 4 bedrooms. The new house, proposed house, has 3 bedrooms. There is one additional room that I suppose potentially could be used as a bedroom. So at the very least, it's equivalent, but on the plans, the number is going down from 4 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms.
Thank you.
And if you look at the floor plans, I think you'll have to look at see for the floor plans yourself. It's not really, we don't feel that it's expansive in terms of the space that's allocated to the individual rooms.
Do you have a proposed project limiting fence here?
There will be, yes, if it's not shown, yes, there absolutely would be. You'll require it, and we would install it.
And the protocol for demolition and new construction would be remove the house first, establish a tighter limiting fence to limit the construction and restore the dune?
Right, the current house, I
current-
would presume the existing house would have to come out first.
Right, and that would have to be restored, put in a tight building, construction limiting fence to the new
Yes,
construction?
I talked a little bit to, last week I talked with David Rhodes, who was the engineer who designed the septic system, and I got into some detail in the letter that I just sent to you, and I hope that you do have that. That letter was dated, I think, September 16th. But there is some curbing, literally curb, not retaining wall, around the septic system leaching area.
Right.
He said that curb would have a footing of about 6 inches. The actual, where the IA tank goes, the treatment tank, that actually will have retaining wall.
Right.
David told me that the county until recently had required that it be reinforced concrete retaining walls, which had to have a 24-inch to 30-inch footing. They now allow concrete block, and that footing could be as shallow as 8 inches.
And I'm going back to this, and I'm going back to it for a reason, and I understand that it's coming before us in the future, but the geotextiles were put in, if I'm correct, to preserve the existing house?
To protect the existing house from being destroyed.
So is there anything wrong with requesting the geotextiles being removed at the time the existing house is demolished?
Presumably not. I mean, if the house has been removed, then I would.
I mean, the whole purpose of this is to retreat. The whole I mean, there is I think we're going to hear an issue with the planning department about continual erosion, but that's another thing. But my question is, we don't need to have that geotextile cubes there during a construction or waiting until the house is finished. Because it was there to protect the
legal
existing
basis
house.
for the geotextile tubes is to protect the existing house
Right.
and any decking associated with it. So,
Okay, just a question.
if the house has been removed, then we wouldn't have a legal basis for an emergency permit. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. So the entire area where the house will be removed from, that area is intended to be revegetated. It will be planted beach grass, obviously, would be the method of revegetation. And the septic system that's being installed, as you can see from the plans, it's a low nitrogen IA system. Actually in revegetating the property, the clearing, because so much of the existing land is actually just bare sand. Once this is restored, clearing on the property actually decreases by around 1,500 square feet. That's mostly what I want to say. Let me just address the height variance and the pyramid law variance. So we're in an A10 flood hazard zone under FEMA. And you all know that the state building code requires 2-foot freeboard above the 10-foot FEMA requirement. So your first floor has to be at an elevation of 12 feet above sea level. And the location of the house, ground elevation is a little bit above 4. We'll call it 4.1, 4.2 feet. So if ground elevation is, let's say, 4 feet, and you have to be at 12 feet, that's 8 feet of your height already taken up just to move the house up to the required flood elevation. It's not possible to build a 2-story house while complying with the height limitations. We're only using, as it is, from the first floor, that's the actual surface of the first floor, to the ceiling of the second floor, we're only using 19 feet. So we're not being excessive in terms of the ceiling heights. The roof is a very low pitch roof. It does have a pitch to it, but it's treated for your purposes as a flat roof because it's got less than a 6-foot run versus rise, like 6 to 12. So we need a height variance. There's no way you can build a two-story house here without a height variance. I think that's apparent. And in terms of the permit law variances, again, we're close enough to the property lines. You can't put this in without a permit law variance from all directions except the bay side. I will note the existing house has got a permit, is already non-conforming as to permit law to the southwest. And actually, the existing house is higher from grade to the roof. The existing house would be measured, sorry, not from grade, but from the first floor. The existing house would be 24 feet, 6 inches. The current house is more than 3 feet less than that, 21 feet, 3 inches. So the applicants are trying to compress the house above the first floor, which we don't control. That's set by, government regulation. We have to be 12 feet above sea level. We've tried to minimize everything above that as much as we can. So I'm sure there'll be other questions for me.
Can we talk clearing for a bit?
Yes.
Your existing clearing is 12,646. You're looking to
I have 12,008
basically just
I have
in your
12,008
allowed is 11,633.
11,390.
So you're bringing in your proposed just slightly under your allowed. But in your construction, it appears you're going to do additional clearing. And my question is, are you going to need a clearing variance? And then my also question is,
We're
what,
already noticed for clearing variance. This comes up in Brian Frank's technical analysis memo, and we do not need additional variances. Brian is wrong. First of all, we are noticed for clearing variance because we're noticed for clearing within 50 feet of the wetlands. We're actually clearing right up to the wetland edge. That's one of our hearings that we're noticed for.
no, I'm talking about the southerly edge of the property. When you put in the septic system, it
That's-
appears,
That's what we have, that's what we're noticed for the clearing variance for. You don't have different clearing variances for
did I
different
notice maybe I'm
parcels of
wrong.
land, parcels of vegetation on the property.
Talking square footage, or just coming, so the variance.
Two things. We're noticed for we're
Okay,
we're noticed
I
for-
might be wrong, Rick. Okay.
Let me just explain. We are noticed for clearing variance for getting closer to the wetlands with our clearing. That doesn't matter where that vegetation is coming from. We are actually clearing right to the edge of wetlands. So we need a 50-foot clearing variance,
Okay,
where 50
I
foot
got
is
it.
required. Brian sort of said, well, but I honestly did not understand what Brian's argument was. It did not make any sense. The other thing he argued is that we need a clearing variance from the general town vegetation protection law because we'd be clearing more. Well, we're not at the end of the project. Traditionally, the board has looked at the project in totality, and we will, because of the revegetation, have less clearing on the property when we're done than we have today. We're bringing down the clearing percentage.
Right,
Did
do
you
we have
submit a reveg plan?
Yeah,
Rick?
that's what I was going to, do we have a reveg?
I don't know if we do.
So how would anyone know that?
Happy to do that, but the
That
revegetation.
was the
plan will
basis
be-
of my question, because I don't see a revegetation.
But-
I
Yeah, how-
have to go back to the earlier part of the application. I'm not sure.
So otherwise, how are we supposed to know that that's your intention if there's?
Well, it is, the survey shows our clearing percentages, and I think it shows, I assume it shows a final
But-
clearing boundary. But if
so-
it doesn't, and if you need a reveg plan, then we would provide that.
But would you
go ahead.
not, I'm sorry, would you not, at the end of the day, based on a normal application that comes before us, be lowering your revegetation? If you're removing the house that's existing, wouldn't you be revegetating that whole area?
Absolutely, yes,
So I
yeah.
would think the existing vegetation might even be,
More.
more or less
He's showing about
clearing,
1,500
less
square
clearing at
feet.
the end of the day.
Increased in reveg.
Increase
yeah,
in reveg
increase
as
in
a
clearing.
result of this.
And that information should be on the survey, on the lower left.
So.
But I'm in
go.
agreement, it would seem
not
like there
showing
would
it.
be more property being revegetated than that, based on this new plan. But I might be
So-
missing something.
We'd actually,
Well-
according to the figures on our survey, we would be revegetating to the point where we would be in compliance with the clearing law, which we're not
Right, but this
now.
is NRSP. We would probably be looking for additional revegetation.
Well, we're gonna
or-
revegetate everything that's not covered by structure. I mean, if it doesn't have a deck, a driveway, or the house on it, we're gonna revegetate it. It's all good.
Right, that's what we don't, but we
No
don't
one
have that
knows
in
that.
front of us. We don't know
Okay.
that.
Right.
I mean,
All
I'd
right,
be
so-
happy to submit that.
So Rick, I have a few things, and I'll let Brian comment on this, but I have to say, not even commenting on the aesthetics, but as far as what's acceptable for an application like this. These plans, there are a bunch of notes scribbled on these little Xeroxes, and even on the big set, there's no date, there's no titles, they're not to scale. You've got all this handwriting and scribbles, and here we're noticed for a 4-foot variance, and right on the scribbles here, it says 2 feet at natural grade, 33 feet 3 inches at the top of the roof. You do the math, you get 31.3, you're 6.3 feet over the 25 foot.
I have to say, I did look at the plans and I did understand them.
Well,
I did the math and I came.
Well, I'm doing the math right here. It says 2 feet natural grade. Your first floor is at 12. It looks like a 9-foot ceiling. You get to 22 feet.
I think on one side it says at least 4 feet natural grade.
Let me just finish. 22 feet. Then it says the top of the ceiling is 31 feet, again, a 9-foot ceiling. Okay? And then it says top of roof. Again, it's not a 612 pitch. It's very shallow. 33 feet. It says 33-3. Maybe means 3
Yeah,
inches.
33 feet.
So that's 31 feet 3 inches.
Right.
Maximum is 25. You're 6 foot 3 inches above the height limitation in the town.
No, ground elevation is.
Natural. It's natural grade. It's natural grade.
Yeah, natural grade is a little over 4 feet if you look at the.
Well, it
step
says here natural.
elevation.
So it says here natural grade too. So what I'm getting at, I want to talk to Brian about this. Is this kind of stuff in 5 years of being on this board? I haven't seen this kind of stuff. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. Taking someone's word who does this kind of work on the GFA, I will not do. I would like to see how that's done. If I were ever to make a determination on something like this, I would want to see engineered plans. I would want to see somebody who knew what they were doing the GFA and how they did it. Because frankly, I don't trust any of this.
All right.
And I'll let, and I think in the future, and Brian can comment on this, in the future, if this kind of stuff comes into the planning board, it should be kicked back and say, give us proper documents that we can really look at. Okay, and not scribbles with all this kind of stuff around here. It's ridiculous.
Number one, John, first comment is, obviously, if the planning department or you had asked us for changes or additional information, we would have supplied those. So, however the application was deemed complete, this is what we have at the hearing.
Well, I'll
It
let
was
Brian
deemed complete.
answer how it was
So
done.
that's an internal issue for you.
Right, but it's an issue for you as an applicant's agent. You should know as a former ZBA attorney that this is not acceptable. Just because you're the agent, you're representing this
I
application.
looked at it, I checked the math. As far as I was concerned, it was okay. If you have a problem with it, you have to let the applicant know.
Does that look okay to you?
Look, the person who drew it is here, so you can have a discussion with him.
I will. I have no problem saying it to anyone who drew.
Well, I
It's
mean,
not acceptable.
I'm sure Nick may have something to say about that.
Okay.
In terms of the height, the maximum height, the maximum height, I believe, is 30, roughly, let's take out the inches, is roughly 33 feet is the height of the roof, and I think that's on
And it
his
says-
plans.
And it says natural grade 2 feet on these
Above mean
plans.
sea level. Natural grade, if you look at the survey, is 4 feet. There's spot elevations in the building site. They're 4 feet. The difference is 29 feet. The maximum allowed height is 25 feet, and so we need a 4-foot height variance. I double-checked that. I know what you're, John, I understand what you're saying, because it wasn't super clear. But I did check it. We do need a 4-foot height variance.
Okay.
And I understand what you're saying about the plans, but, we
And
submitted what we submitted. I felt they were intelligible. They weren't kicked back, so that's what we have.
And frankly, I would want to see the GFA done by a professional who knows how to quantify GFA and doubling to 15 feet and see it down, because I just don't trust
I will.
this quality of work.
I don't know whether my client wants to address that or not. He might contest that he does have the qualifications to make those calculations.
We'll see. Okay. Go ahead. Actually, we can move along. Are you?
Yeah,
are you finished up?
I pretty much was done with my part of the presentation. I'm sure there'll be questions, and I'll be happy to respond.
Okay. Any questions right now, board members for Rick?
Well, the two-story, the cathedral ceiling is in the proposed house.
And the existing house has a partial cathedral ceiling too. So part of the existing house GFA is over 15 feet in height. A larger percentage, though, is in the new house. I believe that Nick has the actual figures. how much was 15 feet or higher.
Okay, thank you,
All
Rick.
right, thank you.
Okay, next we'll hear from the planning department. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Brian Frank from the Planning Department.
I'll swear you in for the evening, Brian. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Good evening again.
So it's the Planning Department's opinion that any permit that's issued for new construction on this property has to be commensurate with the constraints of that property, not just now, but in the future, because of the volatility of this area. This property is severely constrained by the proximity to wetlands and by the dynamic nature of the Gardner's Bay shoreline, however much time we decide to spend discussing that this evening. It is an existing condition on the property, and it is within the board's practice to discuss what's on the property at the time of an application, whether the applicant wants to address it or not. If there were a garage without a building permit, you wouldn't hear somebody say, well, we don't want to talk about that tonight. We want to talk about the stuff that we're asking for.
Right.
But this application is about the redevelopment of the property, and I think that's what it's important to point out, is that, sometimes the term retreat or moving back is used loosely, and I think that's what occurred here. The applicant is proposing a larger house than the house that's on the property now, and significantly reducing wetland setbacks in doing that. The planning department recognizes the importance and the relevance in retreating from an advancing shoreline. But the way this application has been designed, it will result in significant adverse impacts to the wetlands. It requires 8 variances at least. Most of them are numerically substantial. Well, they're substantial. I don't know how you would quantify that they are not substantial when you talk about the wetland setbacks of 0 for clearing, a sanitary system that's going to be 11 feet away, and an 80% variance for the principal structure. There are additional variances that are required. I think those are secondary, so we can discuss them to the extent that the board wants to. I'll defer to council, but generally, if a property is over-cleared and you're clearing more, even temporarily, it's been the practice of this board to notice it for a variance. That's why you need a variance to exceed the parameters of the vegetation protection ordinance. Rick is correct about counting the clearing in proximity to the variance twice. That I guess I lost track of it in all the variances that are required here. But the property was also designed with a paved driveway that is not exempt from the wetland setbacks, and I think Rick addressed that in the September 5th revision, but that was not the case.
But that was after your TAM.
That was not the case on the April
11th.
survey.
Right.
So this application is going to result in significant adverse impacts to the wetlands. It requires numerous variances. Those variances are substantial. There are alternatives that require lesser variances. And you can make a case that this is a self-created difficulty. This property has been in the applicant's family since the house was built, but the applicant is a recent property owner. So the current owner of the property has full knowledge about what the environmental limitations of the property are, both the fact that it's located on a filled wetland and the history of shoreline management that had occurred on the property by the prior owner, who happens to be the current owner's father. I've been familiar with this property since at least 2010, maybe earlier than that, but as we discussed when we had the hearing for the sandbags on the adjoining property, you know I worked with both Nick Greco Sr. and Grabowski as the prior owner of the Ruru property to relocate the sanitary systems from the water side of the properties where they had been located up until 2010 to the south side of the properties after the infamous Christmas nor'easter of 2010. I do have some photo, but anyway, in running through the substantiality of the variance, the environmental impacts, I'll discuss the character of the neighborhood, but this application, I'm sorry to say, this application fails to meet any of the town's variance parameters. It doesn't meet the natural resource special permit standards that are set forth to guide development in environmentally sensitive areas, and it is absolutely not consistent with the LWRP. You don't build a bigger house in a more landward location and say that you're retreating in a responsible manner. That is just counterintuitive to 21st century coastal management. I do want to run through some of the environmental conditions on the property and discuss some of the history a little bit. I may not use all of the images that I put in here, but this is an oblique aerial image of the property from January 2018. I think everybody acknowledges the property is on a filled wetland. The property, both of these properties, the Greco property and the adjoining property to the east, were filled prior to the development of contemporary wetland regulations. If you take a look at the way the soils are mapped in the soil survey, which occurred in the 60s, they mapped these soils as tidal marsh soils. I reviewed, Rick is familiar with our old five-town topo maps that go back to the mid-70s. Bayview Avenue wasn't constructed when those maps were prepared, but you could see it as a trail. It doesn't show an area near the end of this road that's any higher than 1.5 feet above sea level. Just because we had talked about natural grade a little earlier, the grade elevation that was used to design the house in 1975 was 2 feet above sea level, not the 4-foot elevation that Rick is talking about now. That might be closer to a more accurate representation of the filled elevation, but natural implies natural, a pre-grade fill. Again, pyramid side yard issues are really secondary to the most appropriate natural resources setbacks on a property with this constraint. So this is an extensive coastal marsh system. It goes significantly to the west of the Greco property. It goes to a lesser extent east of the Ruru property. It goes a significant distance farther south. You could see that reflected on the survey. You could see that reflected on the town's topographic elevation where this marsh in here is just about 1.5 feet above sea level. And you see that on the survey. You can see on the survey as, so the wetlands run along the eastern property boundary and along the southern property. And whatever resource you want to use for topography, you drop down as soon as you go beyond the lot line to the wetland to depths pretty close to...
It says 1.2, 1.5.
A little bit over 1 foot above sea level, correct. They vary, but they're as low as 1 foot above sea level, and there are lower elevations in this comes up in some of our applications, but because it is a little bit of a peeve of mine, and maybe Rick as well, I think we can all agree that the state-designated coastal erosion hazard boundary line is not a good indication of the vulnerability of this area. That was mapped, in this area, I believe it was mapped in 1983. I might be wrong about that, but I think it was mapped in 1983. It's shown
Yeah, this
well...
is 83.
Okay.
Yep.
A better indication of the vulnerability of this property to flooding and erosion is reflected on the more recent flood maps, the FEMA maps, where a feature that we refer to as the limit of moderate wave action boundary is on there. And the limit of moderate wave action boundary marks the approximate location where you can expect a 1 foot inundation that occurs in conjunction with what we used to call a 100-year storm, but because that's so misleading to people, thinking that if it happens, you're good for another 100 years, it's more accurately referred to as a 1% annual flood chance. In any given year, a 1% chance that area could be inundated. I want to show you where it is on the map. You've seen it on some other properties, but this is from the town's GIS. This is that limit of moderate wave action, what's anachronistically called the Limwa line. The Limwa line goes 350 feet landward of the Greco property. The Greco property itself, as well as the state park land to the west, is located within a coastal barrier resources area, which was originally mapped by the federal government to kind of map these areas that are among other things. There's a lot you can say about COBRA zones, but what I'd like to remind the board is that these are areas that are generally unsuitable for development because of the value they provide as coastal resources and because of their vulnerability of flooding and erosion. So we have a property that consists of a filled wetland. We know that it is flood and erosion prone, both by the mapping that has occurred around it. The Linois line is 2009. It's not that old. It's a heck of a lot more recent than the state boundary. It's in a coastal barrier area. So what is the appropriate scale of development, and what are the appropriate setbacks for a new house on a property with these environmental constraints? Again, not just for now, but going forward. The reason that zoning is part of planning and natural resources protection is part of planning is to have some forethought going forward. This application is not well suited to the constraints of this property, and I think that's pretty evident. I want to bring up the survey of the property now just to show you what some of the environmental impacts are and how, with respect to the applicant, how poorly the application is designed.
Just to be clear, you're looking at the new,
I am not. I had scanned these a while ago. This is the April 16th, 2019 survey. I'll verify that by showing you the date down here. April 16th, we received it on April 30th.
I guess I'm just concerned that you're making comments on the prior application, which seems like it was significantly revised, although maybe not sufficiently
I think,
revised
I'll let, it's impossible to chase these moving targets.
Right.
They really are.
We're in the same position because we read your TAM and then we get a letter
It doesn't,
from applicant that's,
I have the September 5th doesn't look incredibly much.
I'm gonna let Rick.
oh, okay, all right.
I think the only revision,
Yeah.
just for the
Total lot
record,
I
it
don't
looks
have a
like,
copy of it.
yeah, well, I'll pass this down. The only revision from September 5th is total lot coverage comparison. So everything else that we're looking at, just so we
I
know.
think that the specs of the project,
Major.
It looks the same.
I'm confident that if the dimensions or the details of the project were changed, Rick would have articulated that in his cover memo.
That is correct. The September 5th map does not reflect any actual changes to the project from was it April 16th?
April
Yes.
16th.
The
Okay,
project has not changed since April.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick.
All right.
So what really, some of the lines aren't going to show up well here, and I wondered whether I should have scanned my survey or not, but it's got a lot of notes on it and highlighting. Here's the wetland boundary. So the wetland boundary runs along the eastern portion of the property, then it runs along the southern portion of the property and continues further south, well south of the property. The retaining wall for the sanitary system for the leaching field is designed, it's right on the property line. As I put in the assessment, I don't see how you construct that without excavating into the wetland area. If you take a look at the sanitary system retaining wall detail, the footing of that wall, in your hand, Mr. Chairman, that shows a footing with a width of 3 feet 6 inches wide. And that goes south of where this lot line is.
Yeah.
That's into the wetland area. I don't even know how you construct waterproof concrete without dewatering an area like this, and I'm not sure if that was even thought out. I also want to point out that that if you take a look at the elevations on there, they're showing the top of wall elevation at 8 feet above sea level, and they're showing the grade elevation on the south side or on the street side at about 2. So if this were to be approved as proposed, you'd be looking at about a 6-foot wall when you approach the road end of Bayview Avenue. It may not look like that from the interior of the property, but from the exterior. So
It also seems like you'd be excavating into bog. I mean, I can't imagine.
Well, you would. You would. One
compaction.
thing I want to show, it's kind of a side point, but just going back to this, and I'll bring the survey right back, I promise.
Also, we typically want our footings and things, 2 feet above groundwater.
You're not going to be able to do that with this design. But these soils that you see along the shoreline here, that is bog mat. That is peat. That's from the tidal marsh that extended well north here. So, yeah, I realize that Rick doesn't really want to discuss the erosion here, but part of the reason that you do have erosion is you've got a pile of fill in an area that's surrounded by wetlands, and you would naturally expect that to erode faster than an area of natural highland around it. And that, again, is part of the constraints of this property. But these little ribbons that you see here, if you take a look at them at low tide, that's muck, that's peat, that's tidal marsh.
It could be about 6 feet deep of bog too, I don't know. But anyway,
Well, you do have some groundwater elevations on the survey and some
Right.
design elevations. But back to the survey. So there is a clearing, an existing clearing boundary in the southern portion of the property here. Boy, it barely shows up here at all, but it shows up on the paper copies a little better. But all of this vegetation needs to be removed. So the property is already non-conforming to vegetation protection ordinance, general clearing restrictions. All of that vegetation needs to be removed for this project. You have to increase the clearing before you can revegetate it. And again, I'm going to defer to council, but it has been the practice of this board to consider that a variance, even if it were a temporary variance. I want to remind the board that our minimum wetland setback in the town for a new sanitary system is 150 feet. This one is proposed at 11. This is the proposed clearing boundary. So the contention that Rick presented earlier about everything that's not structure being revegetated is not shown on is not reflected on the survey. And to follow up some of the questions that have been answered before, there are no details of what the revegetation will consist of. This is the driveway. It's shown to be. Really, the best thing that you can say about the residence on this property is that it was designed on pilings, which is appropriate for the constraints of the property. I also think the board has to recognize that this wetland is likely to get wetter over time for a couple of reasons. One, it's obviously, very, very close to the water table elevation, and as sea level rise in this coastal urban area, sea level rise will affect the water table elevation in a property like this, and that water table rise will be accelerated if this wetland is inundated more frequently as a result of coastal processes. And that inundation compromises among other things, besides affecting the wetland, it compromises the operation of the sanitary system, which is intended to be designed and maintain a minimum distance above the water table. The planning department recognizes that there is no conforming building envelope on this property. Nobody's saying that a new house can be built on this property without variances. But these variances are not the right variances for the constraints of this property. The constraints of this property are severe. There is no rational basis for increasing the footprint on this lot with these constraints. It just does not reconcile with the town permit standards, the natural resource special permit standards, or the variance standards. It is true that I met with Mr. Greco and Matty Narvillis of Rick's office in 2017, in August of 2017, and I did recommend considering a two-story house instead of a one-story house, and making it a reduced footprint. But this is not what we discussed, and I don't want to give the board the impression that I led the applicant in this direction, because that is not the case. We also spent a fair amount of time talking about how the sanitary system was completely inappropriate to jam up along the southern property line. The applicant has to find the balance between an eroding shoreline. You know, right now, the dune line that they're using to measure setbacks is being artificially held in place by the sandbag seawall that's on the property. But the applicant has to find a better balance between the coastal setback from the shoreline and better wetland setbacks here. And you can't do that by making the footprint of the house bigger. So this application really fails to meet any of the permit standards. It's not appropriate for the constraints of the lot in 2019. It will only get worse in the future. And I have to respectfully suggest that it really has to be denied. I will apologize for accepting the plans in that form. Our application instructions are pretty clear about 1/4 inch to 1 foot scalable plans. But there is been a professed urgency in advancing this application forward. Again, the application was submitted in 2017. There was no substantive revision until spring of this year. We do have an existing condition along the shoreline that requires being addressed. And to be honest, the design is so far from meeting any of our permit standards that I think it was more appropriate to advance the application to be heard by the board than to spend more time waiting for revisions for more plans more commensurate with what this board reviews
I see.
on a regular
Okay.
basis. So I apologize for doing that, but I want you to understand why.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Any questions for Brian, board members? No?
No.
Thanks for your work on this, Brian. Okay, do we have anyone here from the public who would like to speak on this application? Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Great, thanks. Your name and address first, please?
Joseph Karpinski. I
would you-
reside at 14 Bayview Avenue
Great.
and own it.
Thank you. Would you spell your last name for Denise?
Yep, Karpinski.
And your address again, I'm
It's
sorry.
14 Bayview Avenue.
Okay, thanks. I'm sorry, your first name again?
Joseph.
Joseph, raise your right hand, please. I'll swear you in. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, so help me God.
Thank you.
In lieu of what's been going on with this road, we've now lost it for 2 summer seasons. Now, I understand that they have their application in and that Rick doesn't want to talk about the road. The reason it's a road, just so you know, you guys own the lot in front of the Grecos that is underneath the water currently. The Urban Renewal Act was made in 1976. It shows where the paved road goes, not where the road ends. And anybody knows you wouldn't put asphalt on sand because sand is ever moving. To look at that map, the last map I have is dated 2004. To look at the GIS maps that Mr. Frank showed tonight from 2018, it marks the same thing. My whole thing has always been how these cubes could have been put in when there really hasn't been any change to the whole situation on the beach whatsoever. If you go back to 2014, I have a couple photos, and you can see these are aerial shots, and you can see that the proper mitigation that was being enacted by Nick Greco Sr. and Steve Grabowski that had taken place. We have, I just want to make a point that the last time we were here for the other property, First Coastal was always saying they're losing 40 feet a year continuously. So this is 2014. So I circled for you a rock and a post in 2014. If I could submit that, please.
Sure.
So these are those 2 photos. And remember, 40 feet a year. So then I'd like to submit my next photo, 2016, a rock and a post. Same ones. This year I have multiple pictures that I've taken throughout 2019. A rock and a post, a rock and a post, and a rock and a post.
You have to sign all of these
Yeah.
Whatever you'd like me to do, I will do.
Are they signed in the back?
No, we'll get him to do that.
Yeah, they have to be signed and.
It's fine. If they cycle through back to you, I'll just sit there and sign every single one. All
thank
right?
you.
If that works out okay for you.
That works out perfect.
Yep.
Okay? Now, during the last few years, approximately 9 years ago, we always used to be able to bring a car down there And whether we parked a car down there or actually you physically brought it on the beach, these 2 boulders were erected. I just wanted to point out that these 2 boulders are still here today. You can't put a car down there. But years ago, if you ever did bring a vehicle down there and leave it, you always found a little note on your car that said, "Private road, please don't park here." Kind of funny when it's your neighbors. Nonetheless, none of the practices that were supposed to be implemented on any of those permits have been followed. They were supposed to continuously cover those geotextile cubes every 30 days that they were uncovered. It's been almost a year since they've been uncovered. We've lost that access for 2 summer seasons already. I would like to take my family back down there. I'd like the full use of the road. I mean, at this point, if we can just block the road, and it is a road, it might look like a path today, but that wasn't what it was. There's a lot of overgrown foliage at this point. In those first 2 pictures, too, I'd like to point out the fact that you could see how long the tree line was in 2014. But if the same rock, and the same post are there, I mean, I find it funny, too, and nothing against their neighbor, but their neighbor, is lauded for, quote unquote, trying to stop man-made climate change, where she doesn't like taking down trees, but trees here being taken down were allowed, where, at the end of the day, they want to make sure that, her home can move back, but one of the ways to combat man-made climate change in this day and age is we don't build on coastal regions anymore. That's one of the ways to combat it, instead of everybody just focusing on CO2 fossil fuels emissions. Furthermore, the fact that the road's still blocked and Rick didn't want to talk about it, after the article was put in the East Hampton Star on March 28th of this year, after Steve Grabowski came to the trustees meeting to ask about it, I went to meet with Rick. I've spoken to Rick over the years, like to go back and forth talking history with him. I met him on March 29th, and he assured me that the Grecos did not dispute the rights of any homeowner or landowner on the road. Furthermore, he also told me that eventually when this is done, they will seek to make that 30-foot easement a 10-foot easement. So, that's really much in conclusion. I mean, I have other notes from the other attorney for the other property where he says he wants to make sure that access from the road to the beach is not cut off, but obviously our access has been cut off, so he has that in a document that he has sent in an email. And that's basically it. I know Rick will probably come up here and say he's never met me before, but we certainly have met. We met in his office on March 29th. He also used to work for my neighbor Paula Isavoli a couple years ago and doing her stuff, so I met him numerous times. So whether he remembers me or not, that's fine. But we did. But see, the biggest part of that, when he told me that they didn't dispute our rights, it's funny that they made sure to sit with John Tarbert and First Coastal when they came here for the other property. And if they would have sat here with us on this side, I would have known that they were with everybody else on the road. But yeah, it gets to stay there, continues to stay there. I don't get the proper access. You showed the side of their house. They can obviously make it to the beach. I appreciate that. That looks wonderful to me. So nonetheless, furthermore, it is a road. You don't pave that part of the road. That's simplistically it. I could bore you with the history of the road. I just want to point out this part too, though. All right? They have lots number 40 through 52. Each of those lots, it's 20 feet long. Remember that when First Coastal says they're losing 40 feet a year. How are any homes here already? Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening? No?
Just before you leave, make sure you sign this.
Oh, yes,
this
yeah.
for us.
Yeah, thank you. Sure. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Nick Greco, the homeowner.
Okay, great.
One
Are
of
you an
two
attorney? Are you an attorney?
I am not an attorney.
Okay, then I'll swear you in, if you please. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. So I am not a professional engineer or an architect, but I have been in the construction industry for my entire career, almost 37 years. So I am easily able to take measurements of room sizes and heights. There was a question raised earlier about the validity of the gross square footage and the dimensions. All of those were taken by myself. A lot of the dimensions that came as part of the application came from the design plans that you have in front of you. Irrespective of their appearance, they are entirely accurate, including the data that I personally wrote on each of those sheets. You raised a question with respect to one of the sheets that was part of the application, which I believe was labeled the east-west section, because based on what your questions might have been, that's what I surmised them to be. If it was, that particular sheet was particularly addressing the pyramid law compliance, for which it demonstrates that we do not comply on the east and the west property lines. The intention of that sheet was not to demonstrate the elevation of or the height of the roof above the grade at which it is proposed. That calculation, as Rick said earlier, was about 29 feet above grade. You had a problem understanding that calculation off of that sheet, but you cannot determine it from that sheet because that's not the intention
Sir,
of that sheet.
but I'll just stop you and say, these plans really are inadequate for us to approve, right? These are not, and I agree with the chairman on this, and I'm in construction myself, but to go out and measure an elevation is not the same as having a surveyor give you that elevation as an existing grade. But still, we don't know, there's a lot of questions that, that this needs a lot of more detail. We can't accept these and approve these, even the fact that they don't have a title block and a date. Very important, because if this was an approval, you would have to refer to a certain set of drawings to do that.
I have no problem providing additional drawings that are in fact engineered, if that's the desire of the board, and that's not at all a problem. But with respect, my comment earlier was based on taking a dimension, not taking an elevation. The elevations that,
Okay,
the elevations that Rick actually stated earlier are on the survey provided by Waldridge. They are not created by me. You had several questions about the septic system, and as Brian pointed out, there were some questions on his behalf as well. The retaining walls that are designed on the septic plan are clearly delineated as one particular type of crosshatch. The retaining walls are not on the property line. In fact, the septic design specifically calls out that they are curbs along the southern property line adjacent to the wetlands. So the 3-foot-6 footing that Brian made reference to earlier is a precast retaining wall that is actually next to the house. It is not on the property line. There was reference made to elevations above groundwater. The septic design clearly indicates that the design is based upon being in excess of 2 feet above groundwater, and that's based on a test well that we had done and provided to David Rhodes' office. Sheets C1, C2 indicate the entire septic design in compliance with code. I'm not interpreting that. One of the other points that was raised was that the survey from Wallbridge indicates the driveway to be paved. We withdraw that request. It would obviously be more beneficial to be a pervious driveway, and we're absolutely willing to do that. And that's the extent of the things I wanted to clarify.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Richard Whalen again, the attorney for the applicants. I mainly want to address Brian's comments, some of the things that Brian referred to. So I think the bottom line is Brian's comments you could summarize as, and he did sort of do this towards the end, he said he felt that the application needed a better balance between wetland setbacks and coastal setbacks. You all realize we're in a very difficult place here. We're in a tight location. We have wetlands all around us on the south and even southeast sides. We're trying to move away from the coastline. This is not easy to do, and it can't be done perfectly. Brian talked about, for example, whether or not the footing for the curb at the edge of the sanitary leaching area, whether that's going to go into the wetlands. I mean, honestly, if they're digging it out, and I did talk to David Rhodes, who assured me it can be done without going into the wetlands, but if the guy is digging with a shovel go a foot into the wetlands, is that material? I mean, really, is that material? That's what we're worried about here? The footprint of the existing house is about 180 square feet greater than the existing house footprint. I don't think that's material. The decking is actually less. We cannot get further landward than we can, and if we were to relocate the septic system, which Brian made the point that the sanitary system requirements for the town are 150-foot wetland setback and that our septic system setback is only 11 feet. The existing septic system on the property right now, which by the way is not a low nitrogen system, is 13 feet from the wetlands. So you can't look at the application without looking at what the existing improvements are. We want to work with you, but if we reach a point where we can't, build an acceptable house in a new location, what other choice are we going to have? We'll have to protect the existing house where it is, and we're going to have to make plans to do what we have to do to protect the house from erosion. I don't think that's what anyone wants to do here. But if you make it impossible for the Grecos to move the house back and have a suitable replacement dwelling, then they're not going to do that. Brian made comments about the significant adverse effect that this property will have in the wetlands. He did not provide any basis or justification for it. There was no backup. We just talked about how this house was built in filled wetlands. So the house is in wetlands. The setbacks to the house, to the septic system, to the decking are approximately the same right now as they are today, and they have been since 1980 under our proposed plan. Why is the wetland still there? If you're going to claim that there'll be significant adverse to the wetlands, then presumably those impacts already exist and have existed for the last 40 years. And honestly, I don't see a logical way to say no to that. So bottom line is we've done the best we can. We understand that it's a somewhat controversial application. The board has got concerns about the erosion control device that's out there. But if you look at what we've done, I do think that we were responsive to what the planning department asked us to do in 2017. We did not go into we did not go into great detail. Brian had an application before him in 2017. He didn't like it. He said, make it more compact, make it 2 stories. Obviously, we didn't sit down and draw it out at the time. But I do think that basically, in the bigger picture, we did what he asked us to do. And now he's literally saying that this application does not meet any variance standard, not even for the height, which we obviously have no choice about that if we're going to build a 2-story house, or the permit law setbacks. So I can't make the application right now better than it is. I think we've done a good job. We're certainly willing, if you need revised plans that have the information that you wanted presented differently, Mr. Greco said we'll do that. If you want a revegetation plan, we'll do that. I honestly don't see how we can make the application much better than what you have tonight. So I leave it up to you to tell us if you want us to provide you with additional information.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, Brian.
I'm going to be very brief, but we do have minimum wetland setbacks for a reason. And it's not my job to prove that putting a septic system 11 feet from a wetland is bad for the wetland, or that putting a house less than 20 feet from a wetland is bad for the wetland. This application requires variances, and it's the applicant's place to justify how those variances are the minimum necessary and how there's an absence of alternatives. The comments about the variance or about the eligibility of this application or about the application as a whole, not parsing out height, pyramid. If you find something that meets natural resource setbacks that is an appropriate candidate for pyramid and height variances, then you should consider them. But I think that's probably clear to the board. It was probably, but just in case it wasn't, I wanted to articulate that.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
so-
I do want,
Can
I will
ask a
say.
question real quick?
Sure.
I need to understand something. So, this is a pragmatic question. I'm not asking you to design this project, but I need to understand as a board member on this. It would be the planning department's desire to see the house retreat. I wouldn't think any argument in that. And so your objection, if I've listened correctly, is 2 things. One is the 33% increase in overall size of the square footage. It's less than that on it is less than that on a footprint basis. And then secondarily, the location, which is it that it's not rotated correctly, or is it that you want it closer to the water, which would be farther away from the wetlands? I'm just a little confused about location-wise where it is that sort of threads the needle here. Because it's a challenging property. I think we all agree with that part of this.
Well, I think you have to make the footprint smaller. I think the sanitary system has to go on the street side. You know, Rick made a comment before that he was assured that this was the best place on the property for the waste disposal system. You don't have any comments from the engineer in the file that support that. There should, things that I would encourage the applicant to look at is having the driveway go under the house. The house is going to be on pilings, getting the sanitary in this location and getting the driveway behind it. But it's really not my place to design this.
I understand that. I'm
That's
just
kind
trying
of
to
what
better
you're asking there.
understand,
But,
Brian,
the
where it
question
needs
is,
to
I'll end where I began. Is this the right house for the constraints of this property in 2019? We recognize that the existing house was built prior to setbacks, prior to environmental regulations. If you build a new house now, it's subject to the natural resource special permit regulations. So you'll be making the finding that these improvements are consistent with the guidelines of the town code, compatible with the purposes of zoning, meet the special permit standards, and satisfy the variance criteria. Given the environmental conditions of the property, I don't see how you reconcile that. As Rick said, they're in a very difficult situation. Is a 25, and the square footage in the notice came from the building plans, and I think it was about 25, not 23, and that may be a minor point. But is a house 23 or 2,500 square feet appropriate for a lot with these constraints? That's in the quote-unquote very difficult situation. That's really the bottom line issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. We've been going all night here, Rick. I'll give you 30 seconds.
Yep. Richard Whalen, attorney for the applicant. Just the very last comment that Brian made. The fear would seem to be that if you allowed the project or a project like this to go forward with such minimal wetland setbacks, that you're somehow endorsing that, yes, it's okay to build a 2,000 some odd square foot house with a septic system 11 feet from wetlands, or the house, 18 feet from the wetlands. Of course, that's not what you want to do, but you can't divorce that from the fact that the property is already improved with a house of roughly that size and roughly those setbacks. And so in your decision, you would explain the decision and distinguish the decision by pointing that out, that we already had a house and the applicant was trying to move back to a more landward location. So Brian's right. Of course, you don't want to build a large house that close to the wetlands in normal circumstances. If this was a vacant lot, it'd be a completely different situation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. With regard to the application of Nicholas Greco at 117 Bayview Avenue in Amagansett, tax map number 300-84-1-3.1, I make a motion to close the public hearing and the written record.
Second?
Concur.
Concur.
Okay. We're going to close the record? Record?
Everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Joan?
I concur.
Okay, thank you all for coming
Thank
out.
you.
Thank you, Brian, for your work on this. Okay. Excuse me, Brian. Did Tyler give you anything to give to me on Tepidino? Thanks.
You're going to discuss Tepidino?
I am. You okay with that?
Yeah, I
I'm
think-
recused.
Okay, okay.
So,
What about this? We were going to do, you good with that?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we are next, actually, right? Yeah, we are.
I don't
Great.
have the determination for the board tonight.
Oh, okay. So not Ruru, no. Okay, thank you. Okay, just so you know, we will not be discussing, were you here all night for that? Okay, good, glad. Sorry, we will not be doing that tonight, okay? Thanks for being here, thanks for coming out.
Was the 8th we're off?
Thank you, Beth. Great, yeah, great.
Welcome.
Right, oh, so, and this is what we were trying, some of the numbers we didn't have. This is great, thank you. Okay. Thank you, thanks a lot. Let's see, this goes into, he signed that stuff, did he?
I
Yeah,
believe so.
he did, yeah.
Denise just
Good,
gave
yeah.
that to us.
Thanks, Denise.
You're welcome.
So we're not talking about Ruru?
I guess we're not, no.
All right, so then I need to
Okay.
ex-nay.
Okay. Let's see, I think I will, I'll wait till, I'll wait till Tim's back. I just want to mention that we will be doing Young Lemieux next week, I believe,
Wait
Beth?
until Tim's back.
What?
I will wait, yes, yes. Okay, board members, so I'd like to move on here. We'll not be doing the Rue Property LLC this evening. So let's move on to Tepidino. I will go ahead. You all ready to pick up on this finally? Yeah, I think we have it clarified from Tyler.
I forgot my file, but.
Yeah, why don't you start taking a look at that while I read this in, and then we can all, yeah.
That's Tyler's up.
Yeah, good. Okay, I will read this in. Okay, the applicant Jerry Tepidino, lot size 12,005 square feet at 117 Central Avenue, Hampton Dunes, lot 22, map number 4694, Montauk. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, this is the hole that got me confused, yeah. Amagansett, I don't know why it says Montauk. 300-176-2-1. Description is to allow approximately 589 square feet of walkways, approximately 664 square feet of patio, and approximately 143 square feet of decking to remain, and to remove approximately 80 square feet of slate patio within setbacks and jurisdictions of wetlands and freshwater wetland setbacks. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 of the Town Code, and 4 variances are required for this project. Variances of 94 feet, 66 feet, and 47 feet are required from 255-4-30 of the Town Code to allow the walkways, patio, and decking to remain 6 feet, 34 feet, and 53 feet from freshwater wetlands where a 100-foot setbacks are required. 1 variance of 15 feet from 255-11-10 of the Town Code is required to allow the slate patio to remain 15 feet from the front yard lot line where a 30-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary. This is in a B residence zone. Flood zone here is AE elevation 10. Secret class is type 2. And this is in my district. Board members, you recall we've discussed this a few times. There was, so I don't think we have to repeat all of our previous discussions. There was a little bit of confusion, and Tyler has clarified all the setbacks and what we're dealing with here. Again, I stated I am in favor of this being approved with the mitigation being the revegetation of all of this along here, as we discussed at the previous hearings, along the back here, right? We talked about turning it right up around the corner and all the sandy area, basically. All of this, again, is revegetated, and they are taking, where they're taking things off, they will be revegetating that as well. Sorry, Joan.
Oh, no, it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone
And
comments? Roy?
there will be a covenant that those walkways are
Oh, yeah, exactly.
stone and sand,
And not
never
on-
to be paved.
Not to be set on concrete, to be,
Right.
yes.
Yes,
Thank you
on
for-
sand.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us of that, Roy. Let's get my pen. Oh, it's going on.
Beth, do you have your previous notes of our discussion?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
I agree.
You're good? Okay. Terry?
Well, you know I don't like this 94-foot
Right.
variance on this side.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I agree with all the rest and the revegetation, but I really don't see what that serves over here. I guess I'm going to deny this 94-foot variance for that walkway.
Okay.
No, it's almost in the wetlands. So.
Okay, thank you. Joan?
Yeah, I mean, given the other mitigation, I think the walkway's gonna be, set in sand. It doesn't bother me on balance.
Take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my take on that too, but I appreciate Terry's opinion,
Yeah.
obviously. Okay. Council, is that good for you,
Yes.
as far as our?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. Okay.
I just texted him.
Oh, did you? Thanks.
Oh.
Oh, I texted you.
She just texted you.
Had you know.
You must have received the text
Yes.
in your brain.
His phone is here.
I saw Roy's wave.
Oh, you were right
Denise
there.
said, I just texted her, but your phone's sitting there. Okay, board members, shall we move on to Simpkins and Savage?
No, we're going to hold on that.
Are we going to hold on that? Okay.
Oh,
Okay. I'm okay with that. Council, we're good on time with that, holding on that?
Yes.
Yeah,
plenty.
we just heard.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah,
We are-
okay,
we are- it's like
okay,
August 20th, I think.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Great.
August 20th, so we still have
Yeah,
time on those.
Joan's going to be out for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Ah,
We're still good.
We have till
Still
our
good?
work
Good.
session to do it.
We
Okay.
do have till the work session.
Okay.
Okay.
And again, I apologize.
No,
Trying to
completely.
move one of the dates, but-
Sure. It'd be great, obviously, if you
Oh, do
can,
we have a,
Joan, it'd be great, obviously, as it always is, if you can,
Yeah.
stay involved, reading and watching the
Yeah,
tapes and all,
I'll do
yeah.
all that.
Yeah,
Not
thank
to
you.
worry.
Thank you.
it's really exciting to watch.
Yeah, really, yeah, sure is. Okay, so we'll skip the minutes, a draft, right? We'll-
really? You tabling them?
Oh, I'm sorry, they were,
They
you
were
meant,
completed.
they were draft
You
minutes,
weren't
right.
here, but
I wasn't here, so that's right, so I don't have
the
to.
rest of the
Board members, are you okay on the minutes for September 10th?
The 10th.
The work session?
week.
That was
is.
last week?
Yes.
That was in Baker House.
Oh, and the one in Baker House.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I did not look at them.
I don't know that I read them.
Denise was up till
Sorry.
5 AM.
All right.
She was up till 5 AM doing minutes, right, Denise?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
We'll
table-
definitely have it
Okay.
next week.
We'll okay. Okay, council, it looks like we have a couple of resolutions.
Yes. You have a couple that
Denise
Oh, and
has-
also-
Denise has a
Denise has-
couple.
sort of, I just have two modifications that were, the Eichner modification, or the Eichner resolutions that the board adopted last week. Apparently, we approved a sanitary and drainage plan that wasn't applicable anymore because they had changed their project. The original plan, remember they rotated
Right, the
theirs?
rotated house.
Yes.
And so, I was told that the plan doesn't apply anymore because it's from the original project, when the house was,
So the sanitation system didn't need a whip variance.
it just didn't, it's a different project than what they
Right.
originally requested. And
Okay.
so,
Right.
it's just eliminating
Okay.
the approval of that plan. That's all it is.
Right.
It's
Yep.
the wrong date.
Oh, the
And so it's
plan.
just the sanitary is actually on the survey and everything, so you don't need that separate plan for it. And so I just wanted to,
Okay.
I didn't want to approve a plan that wasn't.
Applicable.
Isn't a
Right,
plan.
Right,
So that's, and it's for both lots.
Right.
It was the same
Okay.
thing on both lots.
Okay.
great.
Can we approve them both?
Yes,
Yes.
both lots were approved. It's just eliminating that plan.
These are the two
All right,
side-by-side lots.
so, you heard the explanation. So in the matter of the applications of Lynn Eichner tax map 300-19-8-14.1, and the second application for Lynn Eichner at Suffolk County Tax Map 300-19-8-15 and 16. I make a motion to approve the resolution, the determination as amended.
Second.
Concur?
Concur.
And concur.
Which way they go? They go that way?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We have
Go to
two.
Denise.
We have
You
two.
go right to
from-
Denise. And
John.
I will, before I forget, board members, I just wanted to make note that we will be discussing the young Lemieux.
What's
Lemieux, en français, Lemieux, it means the better.
Oui, oui.
We will be discussing that next week, okay?
What is that? Why
Here
is
we-
that not,
Say again?
what is that for?
An extension.
It's for the extension?
Oh, an extension, okay.
Yep, yep. Okay, so we have some extension of time resolution. This one here is Maxim G. Volkov, and this is in Board Member Deline Springs District. Roy, if you would, please.
Okay, this was a determination filed October 21st, 2013, to approve construction of a 360 square foot swimming pool on a parcel of land containing tidal wetlands and bluffs, and I'll make a motion to approve the extension of time of Maximum Volkov, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-57-94-3.
Second?
Concur.
Concur.
And I concur. Thank you, Roy. We'll pass that around. The next one we hear is Megron Realty LLC at 45 South Euclid Avenue. Terry, in your district, if you would, please.
That's the one we talked about.
I remember we talked about this last week, and I brought in lovely pictures of the yogurt shop, which turned out it was not the property in question.
And you.
And the planning department helped me in that effort. But anyway, so I apologize to everyone for that. This
Brian,
is
do you
for
wanna hit the road?
McGraw Realty. It's an unimproved property, and it has, Beth nicely confirmed with the applicant's agent that they are in fact going to move forward with getting the permit for this project. This was a determination originally filed in July 7th of 2006 for locating 3 parking spots in the town right away. And I do make a motion on McGraw Realty at 45 South Euclid Avenue, Montauk, tax map 300-49-3-16.
Thanks, Brian. Have a
Thank you, Brian.
Approve this
safe trip home,
extension
Brian.
of time for
Second.
this year.
Oh, concur.
Concur.
And I concur. Thank you. All right, next here we have extension of time resolution in the matter of MTSTL LLC, 2 Tyson Lane in East Hampton, and Board Member Brenneman's District. Tim?
Okay. This is an extension of time with a determination filed December 24th, 2014, where the board approved a natural resource special permit for the installation of a 848 linear feet of 4-foot wide rollout at grade boardwalk on a parcel of land containing barrier dunes, beaches, duneland, beach vegetation, and fresh waterlands. And this extension of time is to maintain the building permit with the idea of obtaining a certificate of occupancy. So therefore, I make a motion in the matter of MTSTL LLC at 2 Tyson Lane, East Hampton, tax map number 300-189-6-8.4, to approve this extension of time.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
And I concur as well. Thank you, Tim. Okay, next we have we have 2 determinations here. Both of them under the applicant is Bruce Bistrian. The first one is at tax map number 300-110-2-012.6. This application, as you recall, board members, is the purpose here was to construct a 2,114 square foot 1 and 2 story residence with decking and sanitary driveway on a parcel of land containing tidal and freshwater wetlands, dune land, and beach vegetation. I'm sure we all recall this hearing very well. We don't have to go through the whole thing. At the end of the night, concurring on approval were myself, Roy Deline, and Tim Brenneman. Dissenting on approval were Teresa Berger and Joan Morgan McGivern. So I would like to make a motion with regard to Bruce Bistrian at 300-110-2-12.16 at 45 Napeak Harbor Road in Amagansett to approve the determination as written.
Second?
Concur.
No,
Oh, you
dissent.
dissented.
Well, she's concurring how it's written.
Concurring that
She dissented.
So we dissent, yeah.
Yeah, so she's concurring that it's written.
Dissent
I
on
think
your
you're right.
motion.
I mean,
As-
yeah,
I think
as
that's
written.
probably
I think
technically
I think
correct.
As written, as
As
written.
written.
Like a
That's what I
double
think.
You got it.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, we've got an attorney we're talking to right here.
You're an
Okay.
agreeable dissenter.
Right, exactly. Okay, the next one, board members, is in the matter of Bruce Bistrian, tax map number 300-110-2-012.09 at 49 Private Road off Napeak Harbor Road in Amagansett. And this project, as you recall, description here was to reduce the lot area of the parcel that is non-conforming to minimum lot area requirements in conjunction with the establishment of an access easement and construction of a 157-foot long driveway on a parcel of land containing tidal and freshwater wetlands, dune land, and beach vegetation. And on this application, the same three of us, myself, Roy Deline, Tim Brenneman, were concurring, and dissenting were Teresa Berger and Joan Morgan McGivern. I make a motion.
Before we do it,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make a clarification on this one, too, is that it wasn't clear in our work session whether or not we were approving the driveway along the edge of the grassland or in the upper land dune in the higher elevation.
Right.
And looking at both the hearing and our determination, it was decided that the board and the applicant agreed to move it up to the higher elevation.
Thank you. Yeah,
So the
yeah.
determination is written in that
Th-
respect.
Thank you. I'll just read that one. Thank you, Roy, for that. I'll just read a portion of the conditions and time limitations. The proposed driveway easement shall be relocated in a manner consistent with the topography as depicted in the GIS, which indicates a dune ridge with elevation 6 feet and 7 feet above sea level located almost equidistant between the tidal wetlands in the southern portion of the property and the freshwater wetland in the interior of the property, et cetera. And it says it should be relocated to this location, et cetera. Okay, thank you, Roy.
Yep.
We good on that?
Well,
Okay.
we need to make a
I'll make
motion.
I was just gonna say, I'm sorry?
Made a
Denise is
motion.
looking for.
Oh, here we go. So,
I concur.
I haven't made a motion, but in the matter of, but thank you for your concurrence. In the matter, that's okay, of Bruce Bistrian,
Supposed to pass
tax
that.
map number 300 dash, thank you, Tim, 300 dash, 110 dash 2 dash 12.09 at Private Road, 49 Private Road off Napeak Harbor Road in Amagansett. I make a motion to approve the determination as written.
Second?
Concur.
Concur as written.
Concur as written.
That you dissent.
I dissent,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what you concur, yeah.
I'm concurring.
You're
I dissent.
we're basically
Yes,
saying that this
okay.
is written properly, this
Yes.
determination, that's what we're
Yes,
saying.
that is
Yeah.
good.
Mr. Chairman, there's a matter before this board that you recuse yourself on that I want
Sure.
to bring up, and that is a modification to our resolution to the Dear Todd Hill Association, so. if you wanna-
I can step out, I'll tell Beth that we do.
Well, no, Beth.
Beth-
No,
she-
Beth is
She
also-
stays out there.
Yeah,
Right back.
no, you gotta go.
Yeah, we have one more
Stay
to
out.
discuss.
We're sending John out to keep you company.
Did you bring your phone so we can text you?
Okay.
Board members, in our work session, we made a resolution to uphold the building inspector's revocation of the C of O. However, for the Tut Hill applicate, for the Tuthill appeal,
We denied,
denied the CBO.
yes.
Right.
Revoked it,
Yeah.
sorry. However, there was an error in the write-up of the determination, in that by error, a draft form of the determination was typed up, and the board had made, with special counsel, had made certain modifications and edits and additions and subtractions or whatever, and the final version didn't get incorporated. So we need to make a resolution, and it was a lot of those modifications, thanks to Member Joan, did not get incorporated into that last week. So we want to make a motion to amend the determination
So
for
this is
the
by way of substitution,
by way of substitution.
and this represents the draft that we
Exactly.
Approved, yes.
Okay. So therefore, I'll make a motion to accept the revised determination for Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-016-01-8.1 and 8.2.
Second.
Concur.
Thank you.
Is that worded properly?
Yes. Yeah, well,
Attorney
I
Jones?
checked it and double checked.
Attorney
it.
Jones?
Denise, can we give them a high sign?
You need all the
Do you-
Tuthills?
All of these, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Is
you.
it all over but for our last
Exactly.
motion?
Council did inform me that we did that, it's proper the way we did that. In the future, what we will do in the future is we just say approve the application, and then, but we were very clear with you saying the determination as written, that they dissented, so she gave us the green light. Okay, board members, council, anything else from you?
Are we going into exec?
If you want to, yes.
Yeah.
We can do it, or it's up to you.
I think, I'd like to.
You want a few minutes?
All right, so therefore, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to close the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for September 17th at 9:17 PM and go into executive session.
Second.
Concur?
Concur.
And I concur. Thanks, Roy. Okay.